Yeah, it's the same helmet. What up?
What's up?
I did, man, like 3 fucking times. Howdy. Hello.
What's up?
What's up? Look at that fancy mic. What do you got going on there?
You
got like a podcast studio there.
A little bit, yeah.
Right on.
Hey man, that sounds like way too much responsibility for me.
Gotta have a producer. Yeats is riding.
He is riding. Had to stop by the ABC store. I thought y'all had a like storyline that you're gonna go off of or some.
Memorial Day versus Veterans Day. Memorial Day versus Veterans Day.
My headset was apparently not broadcasting. Whoops.
Loose Juice is asking, how does he join?
You're in the Discord group, Juice.
The chat, Justin.
The one that everybody keeps posting in. I'm almost 100% certain that I added you. I did not. That is why.
Yeah, I don't see Juice.
All right, well, I will fix that.
There's Bleak. What's up, man?
Oh, I'm not gonna stick around too long. I just wanted to pop in and say hi.
Howdy.
What's cracking? What's everybody talking about? Veterans Day or Memorial Day?
Hey,
Right.
Randy.
Well, that was going to be one of the discussions. No, on that, Chase, I forgot that my mic wasn't transmitting, and then I forgot to add Juice to the group. You're added now, bud.
How you doing, brother? Hell yeah.
Much love, man. I'm doing good, brother.
Okay, so now I relinquish command of this after this episode.
Real quick, I remember I first really got to meet Bleak in Eureka Springs, man, there at the camp spot, man, the KOA.
Mm-hmm.
We had a fun night. Everything got separated and split apart, and we ended up at Tori's spot, and you were camped over there too, and we just had a heller evening.
Yeah, I got
Juice.
I got sicker than a dog that night.
This one. It's the only one with 10 members, bud.
And then I left the next day because it was gonna rain. It was gonna pour cats and dogs.
When you left, I left about 2 hours after you did.
Oh man, it was torrential.
How was that
ride? I waited for that to blow out before I went out.
Oh. Said, how was that down to Eureka?
One more time, sir.
I said, how was the ride going down to Eureka Springs?
Terrible.
It was cold for me. The Mad Yankee, I met up. The Mad Yankee came for it. Where's he at? New Hampshire?
He's up in towards Lake Winnipesaukee.
Yeah, he's way up there.
Oh yeah.
through the Discord, I found out he was staying in Plainfield, Indiana, which is like 25 minutes from me. So we ended up hooking up
Hell
like
yeah.
5 o'clock in the morning, man, for our ride to Eureka. It was cool.
Hell yeah.
He seems really cool. I would have liked to have gotten to know him a little better. I had a chance to chat with him a little bit at the Rowdy Beaver, and then maybe a little bit later that evening. You know,
He's a
I was
good
mostly
kid,
running
man.
around. He seemed like it. He seemed like a really
Yeah.
good guy.
Yeah. What, Ethan, is that his name, Ethan?
Oh, I have no clue. I just call him.
I know everybody by their YouTube handle.
Yeah, no, right?
I thought you were calling him Ethan.
All right. Bleak, before you go, there is one thing I want to say. I want to let you know. You had a doppelganger running around at the camp out this month.
Oh yeah.
I literally walked up and was like, Bleak, and he goes, "Who the fuck are you talking about?" I'm like, my bad, man. Felt like an asshole.
Welcome to the chat, Juice. You finally figured out how to use Discord.
Yeah.
This is right after I walked away from you, Chase. I don't want to hear this.
Everybody keeps freezing up on me.
Is anybody hearing me? Am I getting out?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey.
Yeah, I had a lot of problems. The computer I was going to use apparently decided to shut itself down and won't come up, so I had to swap to my laptop.
Okay. So.
Last minute.
Rowdy's back.
So, welcome to the Weirdos Assembled live stream. I am joined by Bleak Rides, Philzilla, Rainy Rider, Rowdy Yeats, Seventh Sentinel, Shaker OG, and eventually when Loose Juice gets in here,
He's still trying.
He's fighting his internet now. Oh, and there goes. We'll eventually get this unmucked.
All good.
It's
So,
all good.
From all of us, I want to go ahead and wish everyone who has served or is currently serving a very happy Memorial Day, Veterans Day. It takes a lot of courage and commitment to sign your name on that blank check for whatever may come up during
Become
your time
government property.
Yeah, pretty much.
Government property, man.
Well, I'd like to thank all the veterans for all of the freedoms I have thoroughly enjoyed. You guys didn't know me, and you went out and you protected those freedoms. You fought for them. You served the country to ensure that they were there for me to take advantage of. And I'm eternally grateful to all of our troops and all my family who served, because I got a lot of family who are either still active or have served. And the world might not be quite as great without y'all.
Not having it back it up.
Right on, man. Absolutely.
So, Mike, I think you had something that you wanted to say. I might need
I
another
did,
beer
so-
before you do.
Yeah, being that this is Veterans Day, I did want to propose a toast to all my brothers out there who have served and are still serving. May you all go safely. May you come home safer. And so here's to all of you.
Cheers.
Airborne.
Oh yeah. I have to have a little bourbon with that one.
That ain't bad.
There he is. There he
Oh!
You didn't invite
There's the
me.
juicy one
I am
himself.
technologically savvy.
Oh, no
You
microphone.
have to invite me first.
Okay, that's my bad because I thought I had.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I am also I don't have my personal computer, so I have my work computer. And it
Whiskey
just
Chase was sending in a little toast, so thanks, Chase.
Cheers.
So Goon, open us up, man. So I know you're a veteran. I'm a veteran. What does your veteran experience meant to you? We'll try to keep it short. We won't try to get too gushy, but
Well, I mean, my veteran experience started with my grandfather, who served for quite a long time. And when I made the commitment to join, he He essentially looked at me. He's like, "Okay, I retired as a sergeant major. Your ass will be an 11 Bravo just like me." So, all right, cool. And he came down in full dress to my graduation of basic training when we turned blue.
Oh, fucking cool, man.
And pinned me. I got bitched at ridiculously later by my drill sergeants who had no idea that he was coming. I didn't either, so but just having a feeling of doing what's right. I guess I've never really sat down and thought about that particular portion yet. I guess I'm still in the do stage, even after 10 years.
So you're still serving.
Yes,
You gonna retire?
that's the plan.
Cool, man.
So double hat,
Cheers.
motovlogger, and military.
Well, thank you for your service.
That's awesome.
I
So what's
had.
your gig,
Oh,
dude?
go ahead. Sorry.
What's your gig, man? What do you do?
Infantry.
So what's your day-to-day life right now?
When we're not deployed, I'm a glorified janitor.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was getting at. And then I'm sure you guys do maneuvers. You practice. How does that go?
Well, at least for the Army, I don't know how the Marine Corps does it. We have what we call gates, which will start with individual rifle marksmanship, move on once you've qualified on your specific weapon, or in the guys that I have under me, they qualify on everything that I have available in the platoon, which could be the M4, a 249 SAW, which is a 5.56 light machine gun, the 240 Bravo, which is a 7.62 medium machine gun, and the Carl G, which is a recoilless rifle. So they go through all those qualifications, and then we move on to team live fires and team maneuvers to where they practice. It's called a situational training exercise. And once they get comfortable, they move on to live fires. And then once you've mastered team, you move into squad, which is 2 teams. And once you've mastered that, then you move on to platoon, which is 3 line squads, which consists of 2 maneuver teams, and 1 team consisting of your heavy machine guns, or medium machine guns, as the Army puts it now. Once your platoon has mastered their maneuvers, you move on to company. Company masters, you move on to battalion. And then once your battalion has mastered it, your brigade, which can consist of anywhere between 3 infantry battalions. You have a support battalion, which will consist of your vehicles and air. Then you have a artillery battalion, a cavalry battalion, which they usually roll around fly around in helicopters nowadays. Combat aviation.
But what do you guys do as far as staying current with your currency?
Oh, that's every year we're doing this. That's how you stay current. To maintain deployability, you are consistently running through this cycle over and over and over. And for an infantry brigade, it culminates in what they call a rotational training center. Like for the 101st, the 82nd, 10th Mountain, all of your line units, or your light units, they go to Fort Polk, to JRTC, which is your Joint Readiness Training Center. Your mechanized units will go to California and do their, what is that one called? I've never had to go to that one. It's another rotational training center. And if you are light or airborne in the European continent, you go to Germany for JMRC, which is this Fort Polk, but in Germany. But the Army will not put your brigade on a deployment cycle until you've completed all these gates. And to maintain that, you have to complete these gates In the 82nd, we did it. We did this entire cycle every 6 months.
Hardcore.
I mean,
Got to be combat ready.
I
Now
left Fort Bragg with 46 jumps in 3 years. 45. 45.
So you're airborne?
I left basic training and went to airborne school. I've been airborne for
Oh.
10 years. Not always on jump status, but I am jump qualified.
Right.
You do any of the cold weather stuff, like swimming in Kodiak?
I didn't swim in Kodiak, but I did get to do an Arctic Circle jump when I first moved to Alaska. When we left the bird, it was -78, and then adding wind chill, it was -103.
Damn.
You know,
What-
what kind of jump height was that?
That was 800 feet.
What'd you jump out of?
C-17. Which, if you look at a so we have the C-5, which you can think of like the Boeing 747, like the big boy.
Yeah.
And then the
Well,
C-17.
I know my birds, man.
Okay. C-17 is about half that size. And then you have
I like
the
C-17
C-130 that everyone knows.
Yeah.
But a C-5
and
can
they-
literally fit a
Well,
C.
I make engines for. That's my contribution.
But a
The
C-5
C-130.
a C-5 Galaxy can fit an entire AC-130 inside of it.
It's a freaking pole barn. It's a pole barn with wings on it, man.
All right, so Mike, what is yours? Because I feel like we're getting far off into the weeds on me here.
Oh no, dude, I love listening to you. Well, me not as interesting. I was expeditionary
Quid
warfare.
talk.
So yeah, so I was Navy, worked for the Army, and figured that one out. But we worked for Special Operations Group. We were expeditionary, so pretty much that just means we plugged all the holes that any other branches couldn't fill. So a lot of times we ended up, like we deployed to Kuwait once. We filled a hole for ECPs, convoy patrol, PAX control. We did prisoner movement, prisoner holding and escape. Back in the States, I was groundwater. We did a lot of small boat maneuvers. We did a lot of beach patrol. So I covered a whole 20-year span. And I kind of got into that expeditionary thing accidentally. I started as a blue water sailor. I was just on a boat. And being, I was very bored, I decided to start being a boat engineer, which means Coast Guard would come on the ship, train some guys to actually board ships and do inspections overseas. So I said, well, I'll just be the boat engineer, and I'd get to go with them. So like Goon can tell you, you go out on a convoy, it's the same thing. There's no passengers in a convoy. If you move with the troops, you're a troop too. You know, everyone is rifle qualified. So to do that, I went from being, wrench and screwdriver qualified to qualifying on the 9mm 14 back then, and then the old Remington 1100. Once I got the boat to the ship to board them, we boarded them, and then we did whatever had to be done. So fast forward, I did my 5 years on the ship. Went to be a trainer up in Great Lakes. I taught gas turbines and power theory and stuff, and I got out of the Navy. Well, when I went back in my mind, I was just still a boat engineer. I knew how to work on gas turbines and reduction gears and purifiers and stuff. So when I went back into the reserves, I was still thinking I'll come back in, I'll be an electrician. Well, since they put us in reserve status and started deploying us as expeditionary, first thing they looked at is you're going over into the desert. They want to know what all your qualifications are. Well, you're rifle qualified, where you're this, you're that. So they started putting me in with the Master at Arms, and they put me in with the Provost Marshal's office, and for the next 12 years, that's what I did. Ross rated me to Master at Arms, put me in the expeditionary units, and I stayed deployed for pretty much for the next 12 years. I was always gone somewhere. When the Chattanooga thing happened, I got activated to become a trainer to train all these reserve units that had never, Navy, you're looking at probably 2% of the Navy actually carries a gun. So after Chattanooga, they realized that if you're not weapon qualified in a military unit, you're useless. So I had to go into these big units that had really, so a lot of them had never had a weapon before. I had to teach them how to carry their weapons, had to teach them how to do room clearing, search and seizure, personnel control, had them set up an armory. So it was really wild. So yeah, that's what I did. That was my 20 years.
As a
Hold on, I
grunt,
want to back up.
room clearing is near and dear to my heart as a grunt.
I want to back up a little bit. You were talking about gas turbines.
Yeah.
So for me, that's another part of our business is we make energy, electric producing gas turbines for the Navy. So were they like Siemens or were they Allison engines or were they Rolls Royce?
They were, so the generators were Allison 501K.
Yep.
The power turbines they were LM2500s. They were General Electric. They were Stuart Stevenson.
Okay.
So yeah, they were big. The propulsion engines. There were 4 of them on board, and they were DC-10 engines, is what they were.
Okay.
And then the
Yeah,
Allison.
I worked at the Allison plant. We made the Allison engines.
Yeah,
which
the
is
Allison
now
is the same one that goes on the DC-9.
So the Siemens now are putting engines on our ships, on our Navy ships, but they're still we're still making them. Siemens just bought out that part of the business.
Right on.
That's awesome, man.
So I feel like we're
It
kind
was
of
fun.
I feel like we're kind of dominating the conversation right now, Mike.
Well, I wanted to just ask,
Sydney just left.
What
Wasn't
was
gonna
that?
sure.
learn all the different songs. Because Mike, you know a ton of them
Sure,
songs. You
Sydney.
were
So I was
belting
gonna
us out.
say, so my job when I was in these reserve units and doing PAX control was a lot like what Sydney does. Sydney, tell us about what you do. Oh, your mic's dead.
Which
There you
aspect?
are. Personnel control and security.
Yeah, basically, I do security systems and crisis management at a hospital. It's not as exciting as all of your jobs.
You wouldn't think so.
No.
You wouldn't.
Yeah,
you
but
wouldn't
you
believe
said,
what some people find interesting that someone else does. To us, what we do is boring. But I'll look at something that someone else does, and to me, that is. I mean, that's like the cat's meow because it's something I don't do.
Yeah, so basically I deal with people when or my team deals with people. I try to get on the floor a lot more, even though right now I mostly do like desk work. But I feel like I can't push policy unless I know what my guys are going through. So I try to get on the floor more. But yeah, we deal with people when they hit rock bottom. Their concept of reality is just shattered. And there's sometimes like they'll look at you and they'll be like, "Oh my god, you remind me of a motherfucker I hate." So they'll just like go after you randomly. Like on average, someone at my work gets assaulted probably like 3 times a day. We have instances of someone getting assaulted. So,
Is that your workers or is that people in the facility?
usually it's workers, but we're all trained to deal with that.
So the attackers is usually a drug type deal.
Sometimes, yeah. Like just the other day we
out.
had to. Yeah, well, I mean, it could be. So, it's mental health and addictions, essentially. So we deal with the gambit, really. Like just the other day we had to Narcan someone, and when they woke up, they came out swinging.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
You would have enjoyed one of the cats that I had to deal with here recently. He got belligerently drunk, and we got called because we were on duty that night. And so we walk into the barracks. We're like, all right, where is this cat? And there's a kid standing in the hallway. We're like, where? He's like, he's over here. And so we walk by him and we look in the room. There's nobody there. We turn around and we hear somebody pissing behind the dude that had told us where the kid was. So we pop our head around. The kid's standing there pissing in the laundry room sink. So we get him back to his bed.
At least it was in the sink.
Yeah, I am thankful for that. We get him back to his bed, and he just, as soon as he lays his head down, he's gone. And we're sitting there, we try to wake him up. Got no response. So we tried for like 5 minutes. We're like, all right, fine. We call EMS, and we have him transported to the local hospital. Well, on the way to the hospital, he comes to, and he gets violent. So they Narcan him, not a lot, but they give him some. And enough, I don't know how it works. They're like, yeah, we put him down enough to get him to the hospital. Like, okay, whatever. And he comes to and he has to go to the bathroom. So he goes to the bathroom. He tries to escape. He winds up breaking an MP's ankle because the MP stuck his foot into the door to try to block him from getting out or something. I don't know how it exactly happened. But all total, he got 4 charges of fighting MPs, 3 charges of fighting the hospital security staff, and then 2 charges of assaulting the civilian, like the actual medical employees. And as my buddy calls me, and he's video chatting me, I can hear this kid screaming in the background, screaming to Thanos to give him the power to break free and kill everyone in this building.
Yeah.
Sounds like they Atavanned him. They didn't Narcan him. So yeah, so to bring him down, they'll Ativan him, and sometimes it's effective and sometimes it's not. What she's talking about is a heroin addict. When they actually crash, they'll give them the Narcan to reverse the effects of the heroin.
Right.
Or mom's Vicodin or whatever it was. We had a guy where I work. I do EMR still where I was working, and the guy had taken a bottle of mom's Vicodin and passed out at work and crashed. So they Narcaned him to bring him out of it. But yeah, when you get a violent one, they usually give them Ativan.
I've had Ativan.
They call it taking a ride on the van.
With my history and some of the stuff I do talking about addiction and awareness, I've done some outreach, and I talked to heroin addicts and people who've been Narcaned, and well, they get mad as hell about it because it makes it so they can't get high for 12 hours or something. And the real bad addicts, it really just pisses them off because now, I mean, you save their life, but they can't get high, and it's such a terrible. It's so hard to watch people struggle that hard and trying to deal with them, and it takes people who are pretty close to being saints.
Oh no, we picked this kid apart when they released him back to us. We dogged the living dog shit out of him because he remembered none of it. We were like, so how helpful was Thanos yesterday, buddy? He goes, what are you talking about, Sergeant? I was like, you don't remember? No.
We used to have a rule that was an unwritten rule, but we stuck to it religiously. If you had to be brought back on board, you had to be put on a drunk watch. Someone had to watch you. The trade-off is the next time you were on duty, if someone came on board drunk, you had to be their watch. So we used to play, we called it quarterdeck games. You had to get at the end of the quarterdeck. You had to be able to come on board, request permission to come aboard yourself, and you had to act sober doing it. You couldn't make it. It started, I think it was on the Comte de Gras, they put a guy to bed because he was drunk, and he ended up choking to death on his own, excretions. So after that, you had to lay on your belly, and you had to have a drunk watch with you to keep you from drowning in your sleep, basically. Yeah, once you had to stand a couple of drunk watches with guys that were throwing up everywhere, you didn't do it again. A lesson learned. They called it the self-correcting error.
Yeah.
The punishment fits the crime.
So I've had a few kids, especially when I was on duty, that would come back to the barracks drunk, but they weren't being belligerent. It was just like, okay, dude, I know you're underage, but as long as you're not acting a fucking fool, I don't care. And it's just, I seen you, so you will meet me down here at X time, and you're gonna pull a 24-hour shift. I don't care if it's 04. You'll be here at 05. I only had to do that twice to a couple kids, but.
So in the Army, did you have extra military instruction?
Extra military instruction.
It went a lot like this. Let's say if you did something that wasn't serious enough to merit an Article 15, you got what they call extra military instruction. So if you were late to muster, next day, and probably about a week after that, you had to show up an hour early for muster, and then muster everyone as they came in. If you were late coming in for curfew, you had to come in for 4 hours before curfew was set and greet everyone coming aboard for their curfew.
Never had anything like that. Growing up as a grunt, it was more, you stepped on your crank, we're going to correct this via physical punishment now.
Well,
And
that's what we call deck
20
plate, and that
minutes?
was something totally different. Well,
Oh.
that's deck plate discipline. That might be taking care of at the lower ranks, and I've seen a lot of first sergeants take their guys into Connex boxes and do that direct thing.
That's called a
Once
wall-to-wall
it got up-
counseling.
And once it got up to command sergeant major or the XO, and there was something there that they didn't actually have to do Article 15 for, they would give you just this extra instruction, they would call it, to correct the issue that was ongoing. Now, sometimes that ended up being scraping paint, painting, cleaning, doing field pickup. I can't remember what the Army calls it, but when you actually go pick up trash, parade
Post
duty.
cleanup.
It had a snazzy name up in Fort Sill, and I can't remember what they called it. Basically, was out doing parade field duty, picking up policing.
Police call, yeah.
But
Okay, so before we last question, because I feel like we're kind of alienating a lot of people. Favorite school that you ever went to?
for me,
Yes.
Alertspa. It was the improvised law enforcement response to a suicide bombing attack, and it was my favorite school. It was about suicide bombers, car bombs, and BBIEDs, and I loved it because it was so informative. For one other reason, but I will have to talk to you offline about it.
Fair enough.
No, tell us all your secrets.
Not to alienate anyone else, but to give you an idea, when we came back from, I think it was the 06 deployment, we had to go through decompression. And one of the things they said was, be cautious what you tell people, because things you got used to over there, people aren't going to be used to here. And so like, well, I don't want to go back and tell my stories. So the counselor said, okay, what's one thing that happened over there that you thought was really, really funny? He says, oh, we were bringing this one guy out of his cell, and he spit on me. So when I turned around, I just butt stroked him just out of, instinct, and it knocked all his teeth out. And then he's trying to yell and scream at me, but all that's coming out is spit and blood. And he's laughing. And the guy looks at him and goes, well, would your grandma find that story funny? And he goes, well, I guess not. So
I have stories like that. I just can't tell them on YouTube.
there's some stories you just don't tell people, because one, they'll think you're crazy, because our sense of humor gets a little warped, and I'm sure Sydney's probably seen a lot of the same thing. You got to put yourself in a special situation in your head to get through some of this stuff. So the way you deal with things, police, fire department, paramedics all do the same thing, but you have to temper yourself to some of this stuff. So
That's true.
getting a little off track here. So we told Sydney that we would talk about butt cream today. So let's talk about that.
Wait, what were the?
Okay, so things that make our ride better. We're talking about.
Okay.
We all did. I believe all of us did a very long ride to Forgotten Angels this time. So after 5 or 6 big long rides, what's something you have decided or discovered that'll make your ride better?
I'm gonna have to go with Josh's sheepskin idea. Or
Rainey feels some kind of way about the sheepskin.
I feel yummy about that sheepskin. It's awesome. Oh yeah, the sheepskin. I've got one for the Harley and one for the BMW, because I was a believer. I thought that they would be, it'll get wet, man. It's not going to be comfortable. It's going to slide everywhere. When it rains, it's going to get full of water, and it's going to, be uncomfortable. Absolutely not. Once you sit on that thing, you're a believer from then on.
Fucking told y'all. Those things are awesome. I always run with one.
What does everyone ride?
Goon, you can start since you're in the top.
I have a 2021 Lowrider S that is midnight crimson in color, and I have named her Siren.
Oh yeah. Phil?
Drive a 2006 Road King.
I actually see it quite a bit on Instagram, but wanted to ask.
I got you. I also ride my wife's 2009 Super Glide. So
Okay.
I love both those bikes.
Rainey, I know what his bikes are, but go ahead.
Go ahead. All right, I have a 2019 K1600 Grand America. Her name is Benita because she's got a big fat butt. And then I have the 2021 Harley Davidson Sportster Iron 1200. Her name is Narcissa Malfoy. Because she's black. Oh yeah, because she's black. Got a few multicolored stripes just to highlight her heritage, and she's a little bitchy on the outside, but she's got a heart of gold, so it just fits.
Wonderful.
Rowdy. You're going to have to
I'll
unmute
tell you-
yourself.
You're muted.
He's muted.
Dude, that mute button being a pain in the butt. 2008 Suzuki V-Strom, full dad bike extraordinaire. It's not rowdy, I am. But it's fun, like just ripping around downtown, stuff like that. They're sweet bikes.
So what you're saying is you pack all the attitude, and it'll pack you home.
Yep.
With some help.
Absolutely.
Sid?
Oh, actually, I have two bikes. One is a FZ07 2016, Yamaha FZ07.
Yeah.
And then I have the 2020 Lowrider S.
Oh, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
We know their nicknames are S and Z because they talk to us in the videos.
Well,
Do
yeah,
they have actual names?
yeah. Well, Z is just Z. But my lowrider I named Skull after one of the wolves in Norse mythology.
Not after the vodka.
Right
The
on.
No.
bottom of vodka.
So it's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, Shaker.
What up?
What's your bike, nerd?
What's my bike? Well, my main cruiser is my 2013 Electric Glide Classic. I like a stripped down tour, but my first bike is my 97 Road King that I still have. That's my first Harley, the one that, like I said, drew me to Shade Tree because I had no idea a motorcycle can make that much racket and still run down the road. It's like, what are these noises? So I'm looking around on YouTube and there's Shade Tree on fucking Barf Party.
Yeah. Yes. Same bike that drew me in. So
Yeah.
what is that man riding? I have to know more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my two birds, man. I'd like to get into a low rider, but I like probably an Evo road low rider, just more of a turn cutting bike versus the big fat tour bikes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna turn my nose up at this Softail lowrider. Not in the slightest.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, there are a
I
lot
got
of
the
fun.
new bikes you guys got though, man. Wow.
Mine was free.
Free?
Free 99.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about that. I think I missed the story there.
All
I
right.
heard something about it
Juice.
burned down, but oh, is it my turn now?
It is.
Yep.
Dang it! All right, so my main ride right now is
I
a
think you're muted,
2001.
Juice.
No,
Am I
I
still
can hear
muted?
him. I can hear him.
Just me. Oh, it's always just me. Why me?
All
All
right,
right, Justin.
hopefully y'all can hear me. My main ride is a 2001 Concourse 1000. Just crossed 70,000 miles on it. Not all for me.
Complete.
And then I've also got, I think I'm losing count. I think I've got 5 other bikes. So I've got a 2020 Triumph
Easy,
Street
Josh.
Scrambler. I'm about to trade in for a Road King, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I've got an 81 KZ 440 that is barely running because it's a 1981 KZ 440. I've got a 2012 KTM 450 XCW dirt bike and a 2003 KTM 300 EXC 2-stroke. Love that. Love 2-strokes. And then I just picked up another bike that is a secret, and you all have to fucking wait. Boom.
You fuck.
I'll tell you this. It's a 79.
If it's a Honda CB750, take it back. That's my market.
Nope.
I can tell this is a really good story, but I didn't hear a thing he said. And he was so animated, and I know it's a good story. I feel
Man, that's
left
bummer.
out.
I can hear you
Felt
just
kinda
fine.
cheated.
I can't believe you can't hear me.
Hey, check your settings, Mike. You might have him muted.
Like you deafened me or something. Yeah, tell him.
Yeah,
Tell him what
you might have
undone-
deafened Juice. Check your settings.
Cheers to the vet.
You bought an old ass bike. It's 79.
I've already bought like.
I think last
hundreds
time
of
I had
dollars
to
in
exit
parts.
and come back in, so let me try that. I'll be right back.
We will wait for him, unless you know. Oh, Bleak, what is yours? We didn't ask. We completely skipped you. I apologize.
How did we do that?
Oh no, you're good. Yeah, I'll rattle this off and then I'll go ahead and get out of here. Actually, so I have a O2 concourse. Started in O2,
Nice.
and now is a O2 and an OO because I had to swap the motor. It's the bane of my existence, and I'd love to ride it someday if it's ever done being worked on. But it's
I know how you feel.
either an exercise in futility, and I'm too dumb to see the writing on the wall or read it. I don't know. But I love the bike, and I just keep dumping money into it and listening to these mechanics. And I'm like, do we got to get an exorcist in here, or what do we got to do?
You got hey, Blake, you got a whole side story with the mechanics, man.
Oh man, I could do a whole hour on just my dealings with mechanics. But then I also have a 2019 Kawasaki Z900 RS Cafe, which has probably seen more miles than it was meant to. Because, I watched Shade Tree Surgeon, and I was like, yeah, I got a cafe bike. I'll ride it across the country. Sounds like a plan. But I'm looking forward to picking up a bar and shield. That'll probably be my next purchase once I stop throwing money at the Connie.
What
Have
kind
a
of
good one,
bar
9 mils.
are you looking at?
The one I was looking at, they had one at my local shop, very similar to Rainey's, but this was in the blue striping. Very beautiful bike, and it had T-bars already. I mean, big risers, you couldn't go wrong. And then I also really, really, really want like an 85 and 87 Voyager, the Kawasaki's that look like a wannabe Goldwing. In fact, that might be my dream bike. That Kawasaki that looks like a Goldwing.
You see those every once in a while around here.
You can get a good deal on the Voyagers, man. People ain't looking at them yet. I was aware of one that had, I mean, it was, well used, probably around 50, 60,000 miles, and it sold for under $3,000, and it was still a clean Voyager, man. They had everything on them things, cruise, air, all that shit.
Well, Mama Cowie, she built them strong, and she built them to go. Gave them a little bit of everything. But hey, thanks for having me, everybody. I'll get out of your hair. Thank you all for your service, and gentlemen, ladies, you have a good night.
Thank you, sir.
You do
Hope
the
to see
same,
you
Bleak.
soon.
Have a good one, brother.
Good seeing you, man.
Man,
Have a good night, Bleak.
Yes.
Oh, shit.
You are sideways, Juice.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I was reading a chat, and now it's all picked
okay.
up. I'm on my. I have to do it from my phone because this laptop I'm on is not cooperating. So I've got the YouTube on the laptop to check the chat, and then I'm just like on my phone. So
Yeah, that's fine. I think a couple of us are rocking that way.
Is there anybody chatting?
No.
Matt
Yeah,
just
Desiree.
left. 9 mils.
Desiree was on there.
9 mils
she's
and
still-
Des left.
yeah, I
I
didn't
will say
want
if
to
you
interrupt
drop
your
off the
military
phone
chat.
and then reconnect, it helps a lot, and it seems to be seamless from what I've seen on the YouTube.
I think we're pretty much caught up. I haven't been looking. I have the YouTube pulled up just in case like my OBS fails, but I don't really think I need it. Oh, and it's a little bit behind too, so I'm just gonna go ahead and close that.
I'll do that when I'm when I'm doing my premiere. Sometimes I'll actually pause because I'll watch it on TV, listen to it, and then I'll watch on my laptop just to see all the chat. And I'll end up pausing one of them, and I'm like, nobody's talking, nothing's happening. So it's just really cool.
Okay, so getting back to the butt cream thing. Like Rainy Rider feels a certain way about what is it, Manscaped?
So yeah, Manscaped. So yeah, and I'll just say their products are really great, except for their main product, which I think is a salad shooter. So it's not kind, man. So I think I've got the 3. I got the first one that had the lights on it, the glow in the dark where you could actually see what you were doing. And it's now I'll tell you this: I had a trimmer. Those ceramic bladed trimmers are just death because that's like the second or third one I've had, and they're great as long as you can keep them flat. As soon as you turn them up, that ceramic blade shows no fear. It's like the Terminator. It doesn't show pity or remorse, and it doesn't have a soul. And it's out to kill you or take most of your blood.
What is this thing for, man?
It's
You don't know what it is?
They call it a lawnmower for a reason.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like anything I want near my private parts, though.
Now, the new generation, the 4.0, works way better. I will vouch for the 4.0.
Bro, are you getting sponsored right now?
No, I am not.
This thing got past 1.5? Oh, shit.
Yeah, I will just say that I have probably like a lot of military guys. You learn to do minor landscaping when you're deployed because if you don't, you run into major problems. So I have been doing landscaping because on a ship, especially as an engineer, your engine room sometimes is 130 degrees, 80-90% humidity, and if you don't take care of yourself, things start to rot off and turn colors are not supposed to be. So you have to keep up on your grooming.
No, he goes full dad mode. He does checkered shape.
I do diamonds, one for each side. No. It's there's nothing left. Probably a lot like Goon.
A 70s bush just won't make it, right?
Oh man.
You're gonna get some funny things going there that you don't need.
Thing.
Oh, so
Jesus.
But 35 plus years of grooming, I've never had a problem with anything, even the old stuff, like I do with the manscapers. I don't think they're made for what they say they are. And I think you can run that by the new guys because they don't have any experience. So just throwing that out there.
Okay,
so I think they're garbage.
What about their other products?
Their other products, and we were talking about this. They do make. Just so happened to have brought them to the chat. So they have this one. Let me see if I can get the name in there.
Are you sponsored by this before we?
Yeah.
No, I'm not sponsored by them.
Why not?
These are the details that the American people need to understand about what our veterans go through. The notion of being in a 130-degree engine room on a regular basis just doesn't sound like fun at all.
Okay, 130-degree engine room or 130-degree porta potty?
Yeah, porta potties are a lot higher, but those are temporary. That's why you do. And the good thing about the 150-degree porta potty is you don't need toilet paper. It's like having a bidet. You just sweat everything right off. And you just need to take care of the moisture and get out. Sorry, Sid.
No, you're fine. Thank you.
Real talk. So.
No, I just want to say thank you for dealing with swamp ass to protect our freedoms.
What are we here for?
That sounds awful.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
Manscaping with the what the fuck is this 4.0 thing? What is that?
The Weed Whacker 4.0.
Right? The Root Whacker.
It's the vasectomy in a box.
I can imagine that thing probably tugs if you got a forest going on down there.
Oh no, the ceramic blades are great, but like I said, it's like it don't care if it's cutting hair, skin, it's gone. There's no tugging. There's no tugging, but that's having a great sharp knife. That's a two-edged sword. Figuratively speaking, it doesn't. Get it near anything, it's gonna disappear. So. Anyway, so we were talking about so we were all at this camp out and this time I actually got to take showers. The time before we did not.
Oh yeah, showers were nice.
That was the good thing about having only a quarter of the people this time as we had in March. Is I got to take showers both days, and when I was there this time I did in March, there were no showers. You get in line, there's 10 people waiting in line. By the time you made it to the front, it was time for another speech on the stage, so everybody had to leave. I think I'm gonna tell David next time maybe we should get a water hose set up out there, just put a little some Viz Queen around it, wear your damn swim trunks to the Viz Queen and just hose off. That'd be better than nothing.
Actually,
Everything marches is going to be huge.
Their plan is to have a shower house there, and they were trying to have that set up before October, but they got screwed over by a contractor.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But their plan is to have like a separate shower set up.
This place is turning like summer camp.
Tip, hold it. Pro tip for anybody going to FA, going to Forgotten Angels, going to the camp out. At least one of the days, just go to the truck stop, spend the money. You get a whole room to yourself, your own personal shitter you can sit on for 20, 30 minutes. Hot shower already blazing. It's a good deal.
Shaker imparted this knowledge while we were down there.
I do one better than that though.
All right, so
at least one day, yeah, it'll scrape all the shit off you.
I don't know that Chris Living Large is in the chat, but he had the great idea of if you have that Planet Fitness membership that you never use, you can go to any gym and you got a whole private bathroom. And he did that during camp out.
I know, I went with him.
Idea.
Yeah, we both went. I was actually surprised more people didn't go. And I don't know if I should actually be saying this on this stream because I don't need everyone to like rush the Planet Fitness and like the bikers take it over during FA.
I think it's a great idea.
But we already said we're having a deadlift competition and a squat competition.
We're going to do deadlifts and then get showers. Yeah.
Oh my god, deadlifts.
So barring these wonderful suggestions, if you're on the highway and you just need a place to shower, KOA does like a $20 a night camp deal, and their showers are immaculate. It's like Shaker described. It's a full bathroom. You get everything you need. You can hang out in there as long as you need to. I'm a huge fan of KOA for that reason.
And Tony says the RV park that he lives in has showers available.
Well, the KOA in Eureka Springs was fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I think
Shaker
was there. It was and it was great. It was probably 45 degrees a couple of the mornings I went over there, and the shower was awesome. Nice warm heated place that had the laundromat in it, showers, full stalls, full sinks, and it was not what you would expect from a campground.
I'm definitely going to try to make Eureka Springs this year, depending on work, obviously.
Echo Bluff. It's Echo Bluff.
Echo Bluff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to start a new job at the end of this month, so I'm not sure what I've already worked it out with them, and you know how places go, yeah, we'll work with you, no problems, and then when it's time, they're like, oh, you wanted that day off. Sorry, man, that's not acceptable. So we'll see.
Well, man, I'm going to jump y'all. So, take it easy.
All right, have a good one, Phil.
See you, man.
Later, buddy. I'm trying to think. It's the guy out of Michigan. Grease. Grease is his name, I think.
Yeah.
Everyday Grease. He's the one that's putting that all together.
Okay. Juice had his hand up.
I'm from Michigan as well. I was like, "You talking about me?"
Oh.
No, with the Echo Bluff.
Hi, Rowdy. Hi, Rowdy.
There's a channel for it in the Discord, so if you don't already know about it, you can go to that channel and get info on it.
Right.
Yeah, the Echo Bluffs thing is going to be pretty cool. So obviously Eureka Springs, we all got up there. Everybody was supposed to go to the KOA. Then when we got there, it rained for 3 days straight. So we were in the KOA, but everything was happening in town. So that didn't really pan out very well.
Right.
So I think that's what the Echo Bluffs is supposed to be. Even if it rains, we're in a giant lodge house, and we all can stay in the lodge house.
Exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, with Eureka Springs, right. There was a whole conversation on Discord. It seemed like it was all going to happen at the KOA. There was another setup that did downtown, and then nobody expected Josh to show up. Josh showed up, and it just kind of fractured everything.
Yeah, and there were a lot of...
Like I said, that is Saturday night, hanging out with Corey and Bleak and everybody, man. It was just cool, just sitting around the campfire, just drinking beers
yeah.
until we're gone.
Yeah, I don't know if you were there the last. I think it was the Saturday or the Sunday. I can't remember what days we were there now.
Well, yeah, I took off Sunday morning because I had one of two choices. I could take off Sunday and be cold and sunny, or take off Monday and it was going to be rain and cold. So I chose. It's like I got to go. I got to roll. That's so I got this. Well, real quick, we're making reservations for that. You know, all the cabins have been booked and everything, and then I ended up getting a tent. Like I think the Mad Yankee. He reserved a tent site, so you know he shared that with me. But on our way down, the weather just changed everything. So I started looking ahead, and I found out there was a cabin open. So it's like, dude, I'm just going to reserve this cabin. We can stay in that. So that's what we did when we got down there. And like you were saying,
got a cabin.
yeah, that little wing at where our cabin was at, they just built that bathhouse there. It was brand new. It was nice.
It was very nice and warm.
Yeah,
It was the only warm place in the campground, but yeah, but we had bonfires, we had whiskey to pass around, and then the last night we were there, of course, we had this special thing for Journey of Jerry, and
right on.
so it was a great time. It was a fantastic time.
well,
I
Echo
miss that
Bluff
guy.
will be a lot better being in May, so the weather's going to settle down a little bit, and again, we're all concentrated in one area instead of being fractured apart.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to count myself as one of these, but there were a lot of people that were butthurt that it got fractured, and people just split and didn't
It
hang
is
out with
what it
other
is,
people.
you know.
So
That's like
yeah.
every motorcycle rally ever.
Right.
Shit just splits, man. Like,
Oh yeah,
do what you want to do.
I think the rain just killed everything. So
It did.
It was nice though. Like at the camp out, I'd be hanging out with somebody. We'd be talking for a while, and then I would need to walk away, and I'd walk away, and I'd feel guilty about it. I'd be like, oh man, I totally left dude hanging. We were like hanging out in dinner line, talking, whatever. I'd come back and I'd find them, and I'd be like, oh man, I'm sorry I bailed on you, and they'd be like, whatever, dude. I found 15 other people to talk to, and
yeah, we were
right.
bouncing.
that's unique about the camp out for sure. I haven't been in any other events, but it I don't know. I like it. It's cool.
If the
Oh,
Shade
we
Tree
had
Army's
the-
involved, we generally all get along. There are a few outliers, but we all generally get along.
The Nashville thing, the Jack Daniels thing was great because we were in a hotel, had a huge lounge downstairs. We all hung out together. There was a brewery next door that had a restaurant in it. We all hung out there, and then of course at Jack Daniels, we were all together doing the tour. So, yeah, I think that's why I don't like to. Is like Sydney was saying, a lot of these biker meetups, you get there and then everybody just splits, and then it turns into like this cliquish type thing. The FA campouts have never been like that, so that's what I like about them. There's no cliques. I mean, you just walk around. You can walk into somebody else's clique and you're not shut out. You go to some of these biker meetups, and if you're not the right color, if you're not the right shirt, if you're not the right patch, they don't, you're not getting in. Nobody wants to talk to you. So the FA is very unique for what it is.
Well, it's a charity. It's based on a charity, and that's the main focal point. And the love of motorcycles is the next step down. The love of bikes.
What I'm hearing now is that if you go to the FA camp out before, like if you go to a Shade Tree event before, like you go to other biker events, you're gonna be spoiled.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you are.
100%.
Duly noted.
Man, they are the best people.
I even seen on one of Doodle's videos, people are kind of being nasty to her.
Over what?
And that's just not something that you. It's a big. Go watch her last one where she went to. Now she went to Daytona, and no, she went to. No, Daytona is where people were just kind of giving her crap, and you could tell people were very jaunt, very belligerent, getting in her face and trying to kind of down talk her. But then she went out to the one out in South Dakota, Sturgis, and it was great. So I guess it's a toss-up what you're going to get when you go to these meetups. But yeah, you can get spoiled real quick going to Forgotten Angels as your first or second camp out.
That's those events though are those things are freaking huge, man. I mean, you're drawing everybody, Sturgis or Daytona. Those are huge events, man.
Yeah,
Well,
I would like to go to either one, but I'm not a huge fan of large crowds. So
Yeah. Well, what I did this last August, I went to Sturgis for the first time, and I went up the last weekend. So as I was heading to Sturgis, I was watching traffic leave. So there was still a plenty of stuff going on the last weekend, and whatnot, but it wasn't congested. You could walk anywhere you wanted to walk. All the rides, which there are a ton of rides around there. That's what's so cool about it. I think I hit Needles and I hit Custard's Park, Rushmore, and all that stuff. But I didn't do the Iron Mountain, whatnot. Anyways, but it was just wasn't congested. Anybody you talk to were fairly cool to talk to, but again, it's the Forgotten Angels. That's like a family thing. It's hard to even call it a biker event.
What were you gonna say, Juice? I cut you off. I'm sorry about that.
I don't even remember what, but I think I can just kind of echo what everybody else is saying. Is like, yeah, it's like summer camp, but it's also like family reunion. I never did summer camp as a kid, but I imagine it's the closest damn thing to it.
That's pretty close, You're right.
We don't
ever seen the movie, you ever seen the movie Meatballs with I can't remember who was in it, the guy. But
Murray.
Oh, Bill Murray, yeah. So where you go, it's a summer camp and all the counselors are drunk. That's Forgotten Angels. So yeah, it was a very good time.
So I feel like a shitty semi-host for this, but what was that third topic that we had picked out?
We were going to talk about the difference in Veterans Day, Memorial Day, Armed Forces Day. So yeah, that's something I know a lot of people will get pretty upset about that if somebody calls it Memorial Day on Veterans Day or whatever. And it's usually people on their first 10, 15 years of service. So after 35 years, man, I as long as I can get, because I was in Desert Storm, I was in before Desert Storm, and I saw the slow transition from nobody cares about the military to the military. I still remember the signs in San Diego that said sailors and dogs stay off the grass. So any kind of recognition that the people will give the military, any kind of thank you at all, I'm grateful for it. I won't hold a grudge if somebody calls it Memorial Day instead of, Armed Forces Day or instead of Veterans Day.
When is Armed Forces Day?
I was about to ask the same damn thing.
So Armed Forces Day are for people who are currently serving.
Active, yeah.
So Veterans Day is for people who have served or have came home from war. And then, of course, Memorial Day is to honor those who have given their lives, for freedom.
In the line of duty.
Or not even in the line of duty, who have served and came back and sometimes just never,
Never came home.
We all know the story. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean every suicide that happens as a result of PTSD from a war, like I would definitely consider them just an honored fallen, because that is not addressed, and it should be. It's not addressed as well as it should be.
Oh, I would. Oh, go ahead, Rowdy. Sorry.
No, I'm done. Like, that's all I needed to say. Just raise awareness about mental health and love on people that need love.
I 100% agree with that. I would go so far as to say those that even die from training accidents.
Yep.
Yeah,
But I'm biased on that one.
There's so many people. Oh, I'm
you're
sorry,
in service. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, man.
No, you're good. You're good. Go.
A good friend of mine at work, we ride together. He's a fellow rider. His son was he died in a training accident down in Texas in a Humvee, got flipped over and got crushed. So yeah, I mean, but he was active duty, so 100%.
And I would say that's in service of the country, because you're actually doing something that is in the line of preparing to serve the country. So yeah, I don't draw into distinct lines there. If you served and you died for any reason in the military, in your uniform, or while you, in the time you were carrying a uniform, you deserve recognition.
Yeah, when you've sworn in, you've committed your life, your mind, and your body to the people that you cohabitate with in your country. And it's my dad was in the getting hurt in training is kind of near and dear to me because my dad was in the National Guard. He didn't go overseas during Desert Storm, but he flew stateside medevac. And he said so many of the wounds were accidentally self-inflicted. Like a guy would make a jump and his M16 wouldn't be mounted correctly and it'd go through his leg. And he carried a lot of soldiers that way. And so, like, even beyond, you know, the death and stuff, just the maiming and the injuries that you have to carry for the rest of your life, it's a sacrifice that you made for your country. And so bravo to just everyone and thanks for your service.
Yeah, I think we had more deaths from everyday service and guys dying on patrol than we did actual combat related casualties. So it is what it is. But yeah, like I said, I draw no distinctions. I mean, if you're there and you give your life in service, you're counted. It doesn't have to be from an enemy engagement.
Right.
That's just me.
Well, there's some people that are 100% on the train of they didn't die from enemy fire.
Right.
Memorial Day's not for them. And I've met a couple of those, and there have been some heated disagreements.
I've had words with people, and I try to keep it social. And I usually come out, you know, I make very valid points, and that's the good thing about being old is you can make valid points because you've seen things. And I can usually not bring people to my side, but at least give them a perspective that they haven't seen. So I had one girl who came back, was great over there. We both got extended together. We both did, 2 years there, a little more than 2 years, came back. And in those 2 years, her life had drastically changed so much. She didn't know how to live as a civilian. She was actually scared to go outside without a weapon. So she stayed home and ended up starving herself to death because she was afraid to leave her apartment. And when they found her most of her organs had shut down. And I count that as a service-related death because all of a sudden, the military does a great, just like you're talking about getting ready for your gates and checking all your boxes, they do a great job at getting you ready to go overseas and to fight. They do a horrible job of bringing you back and saying, okay, great, now give me that uniform and, put your Nikes on because that's what you're going to do now.
Yeah.
The movie Iron Man had a scene where Robert Downey Jr. is just working on his hot rod. The song playing in the background in that scene is institutionalized by suicidal tendencies. And that's what I think of when you describe what you've just described, like somebody that commits themselves so wholeheartedly to a cause, and the group leading him thinks entirely about what's important for their mission, but I don't know. I feel like there's room for improvement in that area. Because you see the same thing in prisons all across this country too. People will go in and they'll come out and they won't have any idea what to do with themselves. And it's like, I don't know. It just, these things, these different scenarios could be handled more intentionally. I use that word too much, but it's room for improvement.
Yeah, I don't think there is, and I don't think there is a right answer. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the military, when I came back from Desert Storm, there was no thing as PTSD because they were like, oh, PTSD is what the people in Vietnam had because they had their buddies blowing up next to them. They didn't recognize PTSD. So when I came back, there were a lot of guys who weren't functioning, weren't able to fit in, had seen death, had been involved in death, but because it wasn't a World War II event or Vietnam level scale, they were like, well, you're just having problems. So you must be an alcoholic because you're drinking now. Well, you must have mental problems. So they were sending these guys to counseling they didn't need. They were sending them to rehabilitation that they didn't need for alcohol, and just didn't know how to handle these guys. And we had a ton of suicides after Desert Storm, and nobody knew why because they're like, well, they don't have PTSD. Why are these guys doing this? Oh, it's because they're not the war. They weren't trained right. That's why.
And then later, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD kind of became a thing that people started to recognize, and I think that's been helpful from a mental health perspective. But right, like what you're saying is the root cause analysis remains. And in so many cases, and we see it a lot amongst just different demographics, they've been trained to be so self-reliant that mental health is not something that they seek out, and that's unfortunate. And God, if we could find the root cause of that, I think it would save a lot of lives too.
Well, it's part of it's the stigma, at least in the Army, from growing up. It's if you go get help, you're weak, and the Army doesn't need weak leaders.
Yeah. Oh well, when I was deployed in 05, they had said, well, if you go for counseling and you go to see the chaplain, first thing we're going to do is take your weapons card, because if you think you have a problem, you don't need to be carrying that weapon. And that's almost like, it's not quite a death sentence, but it's, well, now everybody recognizes I have a problem because I'm immediately the only one on base that's walking around without their weapon. So somebody must either know that I'm either non-com, I'm an admin guy, or something's wrong with me and they've taken my weapons card because they think I'm unstable.
It's a career limiting move.
It is, and even in mine, being in the Navy, if you start to go for help, first thing they do is they'll pull your weapons card still. So I've been retired now since 17, and I remember there were guys who said they were having problems and stuff, and I was the armorer, so they would bring me aside and go pull his weapon card. And that's a very shitty move to me, to a guy who's asking for help. The first thing you do is you crucify him. So a lot of guys just suffer silently. And then on the other flip side of that, they convince you that it's not a real problem. The biggest problem with PTSD guys we had after we came back were guys who ran convoys. Not because they hit IEDs or because they had action, was because you're taught, Goon can back me up on this, any pile of trash on the road is probably an IED. Any dead animal on the side of the road is an IED. Yep. So you get back and you're running, especially that bit between you run out of Kuwait at Navistar, going into Shuaibah and going up into the green zone. There's dead animals and trash everywhere. That's the entire highway is made of trash and dead animals. So it fries your mind. And then these guys get back and they're afraid to drive. I remember when I first came back, went back to DCOM in Norfolk. They took my weapon. And I'm walking around going over to the DFAC, and as soon as I go under, the walk pass, I can't see around the walk pass. I'm starting to pat down for my weapon, and I can't find it. And I stopped, and I started backing up, and I'm like, holy shit, I don't know what's on the other side of that. And that's in Norfolk, in America, on a naval base, and I'm freaking out because I don't have my weapon anymore. They don't get you ready for that kind of stuff.
No.
I'm glad that people are hearing this. Like, this is something that can and should be shared. It's just that I don't want to call it a unique perspective, because I feel like, well, no, you know what? It is. Your perspective is a unique perspective, and it's good that it's being shared.
Well, you see, the problem is that hundreds of thousands of people are bringing up the problem, is nobody's listening.
Right.
They keep getting told it's not a problem because they'll identify that there's a problem, but then they put it into such a small scope. And I'm sure you've seen it on when you do retrans or when you do redeployments, that those boxes you check, do you have any of these problems? And it's very blatant, major, huge things that I'm not going to check because, well, I don't have that. No, I didn't have to, put my buddy back together. I didn't, wear my buddy's body as a wrist bracelet. Nope, that never happened. So they're not asking the right questions when they come back, because I think they're just trying to get you back, get you home, and pay as little benefits as possible to get you associated back into the real world.
Because they have to answer to their constituents.
It sounds like they don't want to detransition what they've trained, Yeah. The switch has been turned on, but there's nothing about turning the switch back off before getting back into civil society.
You're expected
and I think you nailed something. Well,
Yeah,
I think Shaker, you nailed something.
That everybody that's been in the service, it should be on all that. This is your discharge. You go through these classes or whatnot to help you, assimilate, reassimilate.
Now they do. The Army nowadays does do that to help you get a job, but as far as you've deployed, you may need these helps. No, you go get that on your own. You have to ask for it.
I think, Shaker nailed something there, that until you're actually separated, they don't want to turn your switch off because it takes too long to turn it back on.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed, like I said, I'm in the Navy, worked for the Army, so I had to go back through Fort Eustis, Fort Sill, Fort Polk. And you go back through they call it the Warrior Transition Program. They want to turn you back on, and the first time I went through, it was like 4 months. When I came back through and they knew we'd already all been deployed, my entire unit, we went to Fort Sill, and it was a 2-month workup. And they work you up as quick as they can. And, a lot of it is just, requalifying arms, requalifying your vehicle, your evoc and stuff. But a lot of it is, Goon could probably tell you, there was probably 2 months before the first time you actually did your ground navigation course and your ground assault course. You go back for the second training, you're ready for it in 3 weeks. They work you up really, really fast. So you're never actually turned off.
Well,
Right.
When I was in the 82nd, we were on what was called the global response. So it was, you could get a phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning, bring everything in. We're jumping into God knows where in less than 18 hours. But like I was saying earlier, we have to go through all those, I call them gates. There's another Army-ism for them. But you would go from rifle qual, machine gun qual, whatever the hell you were qualling, all the way up to your brigade level exercise in Louisiana in 6 months, which usually that's a year-long process. And you would get back from Louisiana. All right, cool. Hey, we're going back to the field in 2 weeks. We're jumping in. We'll be there for 2 weeks. Come home. We'll be home for 3 days. And then we're going to jump into another 3-week exercise. And that was my life for 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think the transition after I retired was much different. Even going through the VA was much different than coming back from deployments. In fact, from deployments, your decompression was 4 or 5 days sometimes, and then you went to returning warrior weekend where you basically had a party and they tried to explain to your wife why you're different now. And when I deployed or when I retired, it was entirely different. So I think they're not ready to turn you off until you're actually going to come off of the books completely.
I get that, man. Yeah. As long as you're able-bodied, they want you to be ready to roll if they need you to roll.
Yeah. So I think that's why the military puts up with a few more things than I think the civilians would put up with.
But I mean, going from the 82nd to the 101st was a night and day difference in just the quality of life. Where I, coming from the 82nd, was you're going to jump in, we're going to do rifle qual, team train up, team live fire, squad train up, squad live fire, come home for 3 days, do another jump into another 3 weeks to where we do platoon through battalion to, yeah, man, we're going to go qual today. This platoon's going to do it. They're going to come home tonight. The next platoon will go out the next day. In a couple of weeks, we're going to do squad train up, a team train up. A couple of weeks later, we're going to do live fires and then squad, and then a couple, and you're like, holy God, I can actually be a human outside of wearing this camouflage pajamas.
That was the hardest thing with my transition was when you come back from deployment, all of a sudden you don't know what you're going to wear. Going to the closet every morning, because I was a reservist. So when you come off deployment, 2 weeks later, you're out. So it was very hard trying to figure out even what to wear every day. Eating is so easy in the military because you go there and you point and everything is there that you want and you just eat it because you point it out and you pick it. As a civilian, you got to figure out what you're going to eat. That adds to your day. Then you got to figure out what you're going to wear that day. That adds to your day. And it's very small things like that just civilians, I'm sure they would understand it to some degree, but it's hard to explain those things.
the nuance.
You're 100% right.
So, Goon, I got a question for you. I've been asked this question 100 times. I'm sure you have too, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Oh God.
Any movie you have seen, what is the closest movie you have seen that is actually close to real life military life? Or a real life military deployment. We'll put it easy.
So it's not really movies; it's more documentaries. And this is going on the extreme version, but it's also a very good lesson on a failure on leadership, which would be the Korngal documentary.
I've never seen that.
That is a good one. I've seen that one.
Yeah, I've been up in that valley. That's not a fun place to be.
What's it called? What's the documentary?
Korngal. And then the sister movie
It's on
documentary
Netflix, by the way.
is called Restrepo. Very famous failure of the army. Deals with the 173rd.
Restrepo came out while we were deployed in 09, so yeah, we all got to watch that one.
Yeah. I think both of them are on Netflix. I don't know who produced them.
Okay. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, where can I downstream stream it?
But I have a few friends that were in 10th Mountain that ripped out with the 101st. Not the 101st, but the 173rd at Restrepo. And he was like, yeah, man, I was on one of the last birds out, and we were in the air, and just like any deployment, as soon as they notice that the patches are changing, they start trying to test and see how you're going to react. And he's like, by the time that we had a 45-minute flight from the FOB back to the base that they were all gathering at to leave the country, 8 of the new guys were dead, to include the platoon leader, who was the sergeant major's son of the battalion.
Mm.
So they were trying to spin up everybody, and even the guys that had just gotten back, they were trying to spin them all back up and send them back to flood the valley.
I think that happens with every surge. There were a few surges that they were getting ready for guys to ship out, or already sent them up to Ali Asalim and turned them back around, because all of a sudden, this D surge sending people home turned into, nope, you got to go back. They're not ready for this.
Or they've amassed a lot more firepower than we thought they had.
Yep. And the funny thing is that there's so many guys they have on the inside that they know when these things are going to happen, and they time them to a T.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're successful, sometimes they're not. Sometimes we have better intel than they do, but sometimes it just wipes you out. But to bring it back to lightheartedness, which movie do you think comes closest?
Hold it real quick. What's the name of those 2 documentaries, Goon?
Korngal and Restrepo. Don't ask me how to spell Restrepo. I'm going to
R-E-S-T-R-E-P-O.
That's what I was going to say.
E-R-S-T-R.
R-E-S-T-R-E-P-O.
It's just the word rest.
Restrepo.
Damn it, I had it in my head. Now I don't have it. Restrepo.
And the other one is what? Korngal?
Korngal.
As in Korngal Valley, right?
Yep, the Korngal Valley.
I'll have to look those up.
The modern movies, I don't know if there is one.
Top Gun 2.
No.
No.
Well, maybe we ask the question differently then. It's like, what's the worst offenders?
Oh, offenders, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them that are
Top
absolutely.
3. Give me top 3 then.
Offenders.
Born on the 4th of July.
I tend to avoid military movies mostly nowadays, just out of habit.
the more BS a military movie has in it, the easier it is for me to watch, because then I can bitch about it the whole time.
But being from the 101st, I have to say one of my favorites is Band of Brothers.
I always love that
The
series.
inception of the 101st.
Even though that brigade, like Currahee, no longer exists in its organic form, the 101st deactivated that brigade and split them between two others.
You want to see some
Jimmy
good
Fallon.
documentaries? Those guys, after they were in their 80s and 90s, when they interviewed them, told the truth about a bunch of stuff. And you can still find those on YouTube. And I won't spoil any of it for you, but some of that shit was hilarious, because there was a lot of Band of Brothers left a lot of things kind of unsaid, and they just kind of alluded to some things. And you would kind of think they stretched the truth on a lot of that stuff. And they were asking a couple of those old guys, so did this really happen? Did you actually shoot your own, commander? Oh, yeah. He was a son of a bitch. Nobody liked him.
One I'm surprised has not been made into a movie yet, considering everyone loves a good scandal, is Blackhearts. And it's a story, well, it's not really a story, it's a documentary based on 2nd Brigade 101st, specifically 1st Battalion 502nd Infantry. There was a cascade of failures of leadership during the deployment outside of Baghdad. Yeah, capital of Iraq, Baghdad. Yeah, I can't believe I had to think about that. And it cascaded.
What year?
0405. The book is literally titled Blackhearts. Actually, I know my copy's at work. But it ended with a young Iraqi girl getting captured or getting kidnapped by a couple lower enlisted. They raped her and then burned her and her whole family alive.
Oh my God.
But it was the result of just a cascading failure of leadership from as high as you could possibly imagine within this brigade structure all the way down. The book does a really good job of breaking it all down as it happens.
Well, that cascade is basically nobody taking any kind of responsibility anywhere, right?
It was that and refusing to backfill personnel that had been killed, because the key point of all this, this kicking off, was within, I think it was in 90 days of the deployment, 75% of this company's leadership, this Pacific platoon's leadership, had been taken out. And they had rapid changes of platoon leadership after that, but their squad leaders were very young and inexperienced. Their team leaders were young and inexperienced, but brigade wouldn't give them any refit, or not refit. They wouldn't reman them.
With experienced personnel.
With any personnel.
I think the military a lot of times doesn't like to admit that they've lost control of something. And the other flip side of that is they don't like to go against status quo. I'm sure, again, you've heard about Aberdeen. Aberdeen was a crime that they knew was going on for years, and no one wanted to step in because they just thought, well, this is just the way it happens. Aberdeen was they were letting lower enlisted females serve as full-time servants to the upper enlisted, to the shirts and the tops at Aberdeen. So they basically were pimping out all these young girls and saying, yeah, that's what you do when you come to the military. This is what you do your first few years in. And the Navy did the same thing on the Shenandoah and on the Yellowstone. So they were pimping out the girls on the deck, and they were telling them, yep, this is just what you do. And no one wanted to step in and break it, until one of the girls on the Yellowstone went to the command master chief and said, Master Chief, I don't want to do this anymore. And he goes, you don't want to do what? He goes, I don't want to sleep with anybody else anymore. And he's like, what? He's like, yeah. She goes, it's not just what I want to do. And I know it's part of my duty, but I don't feel comfortable doing this. So he's like, hold on a second. So he calls the XO down. XO comes down and she says, tell him what you just told me. So she goes through the story again. And he's like, who have you slept with? She goes, Senior Chief so-and-so, Master Chief so-and-so, Lieutenant so-and-so. She's like, hold on. So they call the JAG, who's the judge advocate for the ship, bring him down and start trying to make record. When he walks in, she goes, "Yeah, I slept with him too." The first lieutenant who's in charge of deck division, was pimping out all the girls, and a lot of people were in on it and just didn't say anything. Aberdeen was almost the same thing, but Aberdeen had gone on for years, and no one stepped in that knew what was going on to try to stop it. If you Google the Aberdeen scandal, it will kill you. But the main thing for that was that everybody just accepted it. It was all like tailhook in the Navy back in in the 90s, the early 90s. They knew all that stuff was going on. Up to one point, even one admiral came in, and there were drunk people. There were people having sex on pool tables and stuff. And he just said, "Oops, not where I need to be," and walked out. So that admiral lost his command, lost his stars. A lot of people in charge. Everybody's heard of tailhook, right?
No.
Nobody's heard of tailhook?
Tailhook?
No.
So tailhook is an annual meeting of aviators. It happens in Las Vegas. And if you've ever heard the phrase "what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas," that was actually coined for the tailhook hearings. Because when they started bringing people in, they were asking people why they didn't say anything, and they were like, "Well, you're not supposed to talk about what happens in Vegas." Because everybody knew it was happening. But even at one point, they had a O2 that they had handcuffed to a urinal. And people were coming in. It was part of her initiation into the flight club. People would come in, and there were guys using the urinals with her handcuffed to the urinal. A couple guys had even peed on her. And they just said that, well, that was part of the initiation. That's just what happens. Every branch, I think, had initiations back in the 80s and 90s that come the late 90s, all of a sudden it just came to a screeching halt. And that's when these things started showing up, the red light, blue light. I don't know, it was probably way before your time, but that's when red light, green light, blue light behavior came in, because before that, you're in the military, you should be able to handle this stuff. This is how we do our initiations, and you're going to deal with it.
Yeah,
when I put on my warfare device in 92, it got hammered into my chest, and that's just what they did. And we accepted it because that's just how it happens.
Well,
You would never hear that now. You get your rockers put on, you get your chevrons put on.
You get pinned.
They tacked them on, and it's a luck thing. And they're supposed to just come and hit your pins and make sure they don't fall off. Is what it's supposed to be. It's good luck to make sure your pin doesn't fall off. But I've seen guys get broke ribs. Guys, when they had the crows on their arms, some of the units, they get their arms broke. I've seen guys get their collarbones broke, broken ribs. Had one guy broke his aviator pin off in his rib and had to get it removed. That was just my unit. I'm sure there were worse things that were happening. But back then, the military just accepted those things. They didn't start calling it hazing until like 96, 97. And that's when they started putting a stop to all this stuff.
Well, they tried.
Yeah. Are we in kumquat territory yet, Goon? I think we are. Let's call kumquat.
Okay.
So, does anybody else have any questions? We'll move on.
That's a safe word. I want to know about kumquat.
I'll be right back. I gotta pee.
All right, man. Yeah, I feel like we've kind of dominated this particular discussion. Somebody please save us.
Sydney, Tulsa, or Harley, you've had a lot of problems with this.
Oh my God, no.
S is giving you problems?
Save us.
I appreciate everything you guys have shared, because carrying that noise, man. Like,
Oh, I lost everybody.
it's rough.
And we've got you, Mike.
Can you guys hear me?
I can't hear
Yeah,
Rowdy.
I got Mike. You might come back again, man.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and take a potty break. I will be right back.
All right.
I'm blown away, and
Yeah.
oh, I just
There are stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's wild, and I've got to tell myself, like, step back, other perspectives, understand it all, and approach. It's heartbreaking to know where we were it's heartening to know where we might be now.
A lot of it has cleared up.
Really glad to hear that.
When you get into your combat arms section is where things get fuzzy, because certain units get away with certain things that other units don't let slide. I'm not going to name numbers or experiences.
If you're active duty, then that's probably wise.
Yeah, I mean, like when I was younger, since I was 5 years old, I would always tell my mom and my dad, I would love to be a military sniper. Like, that's what I wanted to do. My grandfather was in the 101 actually. And it was just something I always wanted to do. I always wanted to join the military, and I let my family talk me out of it because I would hear stories about, like, Shenandoah and things like that.
So when were you thinking about
Shenandoah?
Honestly, all throughout my early 20s and even when I was younger. So like probably even like 13 and on.
Because I'm trying to remember when they opened up combat arms to females.
Well, that was another problem too. Like when I was a kid, they didn't.
Right.
I could be an instructor, but I wouldn't be able to actually, go into
18?
combat.
18,
Sorry?
19?
Sorry?
It's like 18 or 19 that they actually opened it up. I don't remember.
Probably around in there. I think you're right.
Because
No, but
it's still far and few between to see a female in the combat arm, or at least infantry. I've ran into a few, and they're all solid.
Oh yeah, no, it was just something I wanted to do, and at the time, like, so I was raised with all guys. So I never realized that there were certain things that I couldn't do when I was younger. So I was like, oh, I really want to do this one thing. Like, I'm a pretty good shot, Dad. I really want to do this one thing. And he's like, well, there's some limitations there, and I didn't realize until I was a little older.
I find that tragically ironic because I've read Masad Ayub a lot. I don't know if you guys have ever read him, and Clint Smith. These are two guys in the firearms community that I think they both have pointed out that women tend to be really good marksmen. I'm not sure why, but that just tends to be the case. So, I don't know. I find it interesting and kind of a pain in the ass. Like, I think that the government, the military could probably do better back then for sure. And so, and even hearing now that women are few and far between, in infantry and just in combat units, sucks.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that there are plenty of them. It's just I haven't personally ran into that many.
Anybody hear me?
I can faintly hear you. I cannot see you at all.
I was about to ask, did we scare him off? What happened there?
No, it's I don't know what the hell is going on.
Yeah, you might want to drop and reconnect, Mike.
I'm not having any luck here.
well, I'm ready to bolt. I gotta get to bed. Gotta work tomorrow. Cool hanging with you all.
Good
All right,
hanging,
Shaker. I appreciate
Next
you coming
Friday.
out. Yep, same
Yeah,
time.
man.
All right, y'all take care.
Have
You
a good
too.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Done, dude.
And then there were 5. Or, yeah, 5.
And it's like
You can count,
10:40
man.
now. Pretty good. And I'm not asleep yet. So that's all.
Ah, yes. Oh, I looked at the stream time. And it's like 2 hours and 15 minutes. I'm like, wait a minute, something ain't right.
Dang.
And then I remembered I started the stream way early to give people time to come in.
Oh,
Yeah, I
so
saw that. That's why I didn't join till 8. Or I didn't try to join till 8.
Yeah.
so Rainy,
Yes.
you were asking about my issues with the M8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody see me yet?
Not yet.
No.
Okay, I was I'm gonna have to go back to the other computer.
Hmm.
Sit. Be right back.
You got the 107 or 14?
I got the 14.
The S only came in the 114. Now it comes in the 117.
I'm honestly thinking about trading up or like selling privately and then getting the 17 because the 114's okay, but it doesn't feel like it has a lot of power to it. I don't know.
I love mine.
It's fun, don't get me wrong, but I do wish I had a little bit more scoot. Like I was riding with Moto Diablo, and we were at the point where I was keeping up pretty well with him, but I felt like I could go a lot faster, and the bike wasn't letting me.
You're comparing to a GSX 1000.
Hey man, look.
How's it going, Random?
Is he in?
Oh yeah, there's Aaron in the chat.
Yeah, Aaron's in the chat.
Hey Aaron.
I think I could get a little bit more out of mine if the dealership hadn't fucked up my tune.
Oh, the dealership fucked up your bike too.
Yeah, like if you.
Okay.
I don't think you and I actually got to go riding.
No.
But Brian and Toby and a couple others. I think Juice, you went out with us one time. When we went and got breakfast. I don't remember.
No, I didn't go to breakfast. I don't think, but I went on the Friday and the Saturday rides.
Yeah, but as I'm like slowly rolling on the throttle, after you get to like 2,500, 3,000 RPMs, it'll start bucking like it's not getting enough of not enough air or fuel. It didn't do that before Harley tuned it. Actually, when I changed the air filter and the exhaust, it actually ran better on the tune from stock than it ever had with this Eagle performance, whatever the hell that Screaming Eagle performance bullshit.
Yeah.
You're saying it's got a hole in third?
Yeah.
Got to clean up the fuel mapping.
Am I coming through yet?
You are.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, so let me tell you what the dealer did to my bike. So my mechanic at the dealership, when they did the recall, they had to change out second input pinion, and the dealer, their mechanic, runs his bike down to the Memphis Speedway. So when I came to get it, he says, "Hey, I went ahead and opened it up for you. It's got this crazy governor in it. You don't really need it. I went ahead and opened everything up to 100 for you. You're welcome." I didn't think about anything about it at the time until we went to Nashville, and they were talking about how there's this governor. It's just it cuts it out at 104, and I said, "Well, mine don't have that because I can run it as fast as I want." They're like, "No. Next time you run it, it'll only get up to 104." And I'm like, I don't think that's true. So when I did one of my trips down to Louisiana, there's a stretch between when you leave Greenville as you're on the way to Alexandria, Louisiana. I opened it up and got it up to 120, and it wasn't even pausing yet. It was just ready to go. So I was like, well, there's that. So speaking of which, when you're on a bike that weighs 1,000 pounds and you're going 120 miles an hour, it gets a little sketchy.
I think I'm going to get the Block told me one to use while I was talking to him about the ST fairing. It's whatever the Dynajet tune that he uses.
Yeah.
It has a little screen. I'm going to get one of those. Because it completely does away with the electronic governor.
Sydney, you were going to ride my bike. You didn't.
I'm nervous to ride your bike.
Oh no, the thing drives itself. You just have to tell it where. You don't even have to tell it where to go. It's kind of intuitive. It's very easily balanced. It weighs 1,000 pounds, yes, but it almost stands itself up.
So not only can you use reverse on your bike, but it can read my mind. What the fuck?
It reads your butt. So yeah, when you only have to think about turning and that thing knocks over and turns. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, and as long as you're moving, it'll go anywhere you want it to go. Now, once you stop moving, you can feel the weight of it when you're trying to put your legs down and stuff. But she likes to move.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't mind taking it out for a test drive. I also don't want to drop your shit.
Well, I've already dropped it once. So yeah, if you drop it, I know that it doesn't get hurt because it does have crash bars on it.
Okay.
So it only goes over so far.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to know, Sydney. I'm probably wrong for asking this, but why didn't you ever join the military? You seem very military oriented.
Yeah, actually. So my family talked me out of it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Seemed like you would have done a good job.
I would have.
One, you've got a very level head. Two, you have a military ethic. Seems like already about you.
Yeah, no, it's something that I always wanted to do. Like I was telling these guys earlier, I always, when I was younger, wanted to be a sniper or a sharpshooter. And I let my family talk me out of it, and it's still one of my biggest regrets in life. I always wish I had joined.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know about the Army, but yeah, we use we call them our light footers because usually on your crew serve weapons, that's where women actually shine. Because especially on the 60, on the 240,
mm-hmm.
because they don't actually have to hold the weapon up themselves, and they are so good at aiming, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
they shine when they're in the turret. Did you already talk about this?
I thought we hit kumquat.
You want to do kumquat?
Are we kumquatting again? No, we had a few females that we were our designated marksmen because they were so good at shooting. One of our best shooters was a girl that was about 5'2", and she could hit on the long range. We have what we call the attack of the mean green men. It's pop-up targets, and they're life-size targets, and they go up to 800 meters. She could consistently hit those 800-meter pop-up targets. And all the rest of us were about maybe 25-50% on them. She was almost 100% on them.
Nice.
Now, I don't know what it is about women, but they are very good at long-range shooting.
Low-cost health plan.
Hey, the other computer just came on.
I was like, I don't want low-cost healthcare. No, thank you.
How long have we been here? We've been here 2 hours, and the other computer just now decided it's going to come online. I've only been trying to get it to come up for 2 hours.
But yeah, when I was younger, like 5 years old even, I was telling my dad, I really want to be a sharpshooter, sniper. But yeah. I mean, I did go through like some basic... My uncle put me through some like sharpshooter training up in Idaho. And I excelled in that. It's a lot of fun. But,
shooting guns is a lot of fun.
Oh man, it's great.
Cordite therapy.
Yeah. Oh, so the issue with the Harley. So I had a few things pop off the bike mid drive.
What came off? As long as it wasn't foot pegs.
My shifter lever.
That's pain.
Well, sorry, the lower shift lever. That fell off. And then I had to limp it in 6th gear to a nearby Harley dealership, weaving in and out of traffic on Route 80 going up to Massachusetts.
Yeah, my main complaint about Harleys is they like to shake things off.
Yeah,
consistently.
And apparently, even after going to the dealership and a guy putting on a new little shift lever, it wasn't the right one for the bike. So every time I had to shift, I had to stand up and then like lift my entire leg up to shift.
Holy shit. Sounds like he didn't adjust it.
No, he didn't really, but I didn't have much room for adjustment because it wasn't one fitted for the bike. It was for a completely different model. So it was angled in a really weird way. And not only that, but he didn't put the screw in the right way.
Them damn Harley mechanics.
Like, I know I've been like, so I just put a set of Kuriokin mini floorboards on mine.
Mm.
And the stock shift lever has been the bane of my existence. It either goes just a little too high that I actually have to kind of pick my leg up to shift down.
Yeah.
Or I can't get my boot under it to shift up.
Yeah. No, same thing. I hated... The best thing to happen to that bike so far was the fact that lever fell off. Because I got this new one. It was too short. I went over to my friend's house, chopped the thing in half, took a craftsman wrench, and welded the craftsman wrench to connect the two pieces. And I mean, that thing is so light. It's wonderful to shift. Like, if you get a chance to ride my bike next March, please do. Just feel how comfortable this shift arm is, or the shift lever.
Okay,
So
I'm not
good.
driving anymore.
Every single thing that I'm hearing about this whole conversation says, don't buy a Harley.
No, I'm here. Buy a Harley. Buy a
I've
Harley.
had nothing but good experiences out of my Sportster, not my Sportster, but my lowrider. If
All right, so
buying a Harley means that I have to solely rely on Harley mechanics, hell no. I will do all my work myself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Eddie.
I do everything to my own, and only because
What's up,
I
Eddie?
don't trust mechanics at Harley, because some of the weirdest things they have told me. But anyway, yeah, I always do my own maintenance. I do my own, that's why I like doing the videos, for one, because even a video where you mess something up is still content, because everything is content. But the Sportster, don't get me wrong, I really love that Sportster, and I think you become more attached to a bike the more you work on it.
Yeah.
And as long as you're willing to consistently check your fasteners, do your own maintenance, it'll be a good bike.
That seems like the
Sportster
flip
from time
side
to
of
time.
Harley ownership, is that it seems very democratic. Like, everybody's been working on them. Nobody's afraid to work on them. Just like get in there and go nuts.
Yep.
Unless you're under a warranty and you're beholden to your dealership, it seems like you can jump in with a wrench and a welder because they're all steel. Like, you get on a Suzuki, it's got a completely aluminum frame. Screw all that noise. But
yeah.
Okay, Aaron, most of the shit that's going to go wrong with a Harley is cosmetic. So you don't really have to worry about diving into the engine. That's
Usually.
only if you're going blockhead style and replacing the oil pump and the cams and the rocker arms and
I will say
Aaron
my
owns
exhaust,
tools.
my exhaust
Aaron,
nuts rattle
Aaron,
loose a lot.
Shout out in the chat. Do you own tools?
Be
What'd you
willing
say,
to.
Juice?
Whenever I change the oil on Harley, I have to tighten the exhaust nuts. It's
Wow.
a constant thing.
Have you tried red Loctite?
No, because I
Forever
don't want
Loctite.
to. I do not use red Loctite on things that I know I'm eventually going to have to take off.
blue Loctite
So-
for the win.
So when I got my bike, I got it secondhand, and I feel like that's where a lot of the issues came from. I wasn't sure exactly what the guy before me did. Apparently, he put a cam in it. I don't know. When I got it, there was no explanation. The guys ghosted me every time I tried to get in contact with him. But
That's why your bike sounds so good, though.
thank you.
I haven't got to hear her bike. Mine
Oh,
does
it's
not
good.
have a cam in it yet. Mine is
You
still
haven't
straight stock.
you haven't heard my bike?
It's
Not in
really good.
person.
It's fucking loud. But yeah, I think when I was doing the bar replacement, so you know how with the M8 Lowrider S, it's all interior bar wiring.
Mhm.
Okay. So when I was doing the bar replacement, this motherfucker before me put red Loctite on the bolts that go into the bars and then into the triple tree.
I saw your video.
There was so much red Loctite, I thought it was a gasket.
Nice.
I did.
The-
I still have it here. I did not take the red Loctite off. The bolts are still in there.
Maybe that was his idea. It's like, I'll just like red Loctite it
Do you-
into a gasket.
I
Does it-
see
do you
it. It
see
looks
it?
like a gasket.
Yeah,
Yes.
I can
that's
feel it.
it.
fucked up. Who does this?
Apparently that guy. People who've never used Loctite and go, I'm gluing it. It must be glue. Here's the thing about a Sportster. Anything you get, so you know how Mike Branch is always saying, anything you do to a gull wing, the first step is to take off the seat.
Yep.
With a
Yeah.
Sportster, anything you do to it, the first step is take off the exhaust.
Yep.
Get the entire header off.
That sucks.
Oh yes, no Loctite on the exhaust nuts or exhaust bolts because you'll regret it.
Mm.
Eventually
I miss my
snap
Sporty.
off that header bolt, and then you'll hate yourself for the rest of your life.
Man, Harleys are like an abusive relationship.
Uh,
They are.
Yeah.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
it should be the.
I think
time
that goes for
you know,
most old motorcycles, though.
I've definitely
Well-
got some Stockholm syndrome for this fucking CB750.
I had it for a '77 BMW. It was R100 that it was made before there was such a thing as unleaded gas. So the floats in the carburetors had to be changed once a year because unleaded gas would eat all the varnish off of the floats. And they did not at that time, and this was in 01, 02, did not make a float for that thing because everything you bought for it was 20, 30 years old. You're buying old recycled products. They were OEM, and it literally had been on a shelf for 20, 30 years. So new gas would actually eat the varnish right off the floats, and after about a year, they'd get saturated and they would sink. They wouldn't actually float anymore. So it's spitting gas out on your feet. And the thing about a BMW with carbs is the carbs are right above your feet. So you wouldn't realize that your carbs are leaking until you go to put your feet down at a red light and you can't get traction because your boots are covered in gas.
Yep.
You talk about an abusive relationship.
Aaron, I'm doing a chopper bobber build on the CB750. And I really wish that I had taken Josh's advice and went 78 or older.
Picks.
Oh,
Do you have any?
yeah,
do you have any
the camp,
current
right?
picks?
I can go take one for you.
Yeah, go do
But
that.
it hasn't.
See ya.
Because the rest of them have already seen it today. It's still sitting in like 30 pieces out in my garage.
The good thing about having an old motorcycle is you will always have content.
That's why I own several.
By the way, Juice, I love your sticker.
Yeah.
Oh, that
It's
that
so-
sticker from Camp Out turned out so good. I ran
It was
out of
great.
those. That was really, really good. I think
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get it from I got that from Sticker Mule. But I'm gonna use like PV Sprints or somebody else that can do holographic, and I think that might just be my sticker from here on out because I love it.
I'm a big fan of that one.
It's like safety. You know, you can put it on your bike and it's like a reflector.
Yeah, and then when someone doesn't rear end me at night, I could be like, "Wow, Juice saved my life."
Yeah, exactly.
I owe that guy a beer.
But no, I kept all the parts from all the stock parts from when I changed it out on the Lowrider S, just on the off chance, it's never going to happen, that I decide to get rid of Siren. It's never going to happen, but just in case, they're all sitting conveniently tucked away in one corner of the garage.
I've said that about the last 10 motorcycles I've had. I'll never get rid of this bike. The BMW is the only one that's true on.
What is the name of the? I can't remember the name of the rider that we have in the Shade Tree Army. He just had to get rid of his motorcycle.
Like Branch?
No, Anderson.
Oh, the Bard.
Brian?
Yeah. Oh,
Brian
yeah.
Anderson,
He
had to get rid of the Mighty Puck.
Yep.
Wait, why'd he have to?
On
Mechanical issues. Something in the engine.
Something. Yeah. It went down forever. So he did get a new bike.
I went to a ultra limited.
Yeah. As he said, he went to a bike that doesn't have a name on it, and he's lost. Doesn't know what to name it.
He's so funny. I loved hanging out with him.
He's a trip. If you talk to his son, his son's a trip.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to no, yeah, his son. I can't talk. I'm done. I quit.
No, you don't.
His son was helping me and Sid while we were cooking and helping Josh.
So he's a very nice kid. And when I went and told Brian how nice his son was, like I got to interview them both, obviously, but his son was so nice, so courteous. Everything was yes sir, no sir, yes sir. Oh, he was so nervous at the interview, and I was like, dude, you're doing great. Keep going.
What's up, Paul? How are you?
Well, Paul's in here. What the
Yeah,
fuck?
Trucker Paul.
What's
My
up, Paul?
closest neighbor.
Depends on
Oh,
where
yeah.
Okay, geographically, yes, but address-wise,
yeah.
he's now my closest friend. In Wisconsin. We'll hang out when you get back home.
I fucking love Trucker Paul so much. There was one point in the freaking camp out where he just started a mingling? Was it a mingling horde?
Oh, yeah.
He does that all the time.
He does that a lot.
Yeah.
He is a mingling horde.
That's fucking great. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a heart of gold. You never had a chance to hang out with Trucker Paul. The things I mean, Everyday Grease, you know, he was willing to just give his helmet to Everyday Grease.
Yeah.
Definitely a nice guy.
Has David gotten an update on the biker that went down during the ride? I haven't heard anything.
I've not heard anything either.
I haven't seen anything.
The last thing I heard was that he was still in the ICU. His bike was, but he's gonna make it. Yeah, and I think the status of his bike, not that it matters as much as him, but the status of his bike was, his parents came to pick it up, or his dad came to pick it up, and they were transported. He himself, his name was Mike, right?
No, Chip.
Chip.
Well, he goes by Chip. I don't remember his real name. I don't think it was Mike though.
Trucker Paul, was it Mike?
Trucker Paul would know.
Paul knows everything. Trust in Paul.
One Friday we're gonna catch Paul and get him on here. Okay, so David took his bike home.
Okay. See, Trucker Paul knows everything.
He's got the inside scoop.
He does.
His name is Chip. Okay.
Okay, so yeah. Chip was in the hospital, still in the ICU.
Yeah, David Tyler on his Facebook, he made a post about it. He didn't give his last name, but he did say what his real first name was, and then his name was Chip. So that's all we know. That's not only in on the scoop.
Well, the important thing, he's gonna make it.
Oh yeah, Eddie, there was a guy who ended up, he was rear-ended, right?
No, that's a 45-minute discussion on just explaining it.
Okay.
Well, I think
essentially,
the long story short is he grabbed the front brake a little too hard, regardless of the reason why. Right?
And he wasn't wearing a helmet, and shenanigans happened. He ended up hitting the ground. They did CPR on him because he was non-responsive.
Oh, we love you too, Paul.
I got into this a little bit with some other people before I left the camp out, or maybe it was the other night. But from what it sounded like, there was a dump truck involved, right?
It was a dump truck and a GMC pickup.
Yep.
Okay, I thought it was a separate issue. The dump truck I thought was separate.
The group.
No,
and the
dump trucks were a main problem throughout this entire fucking ride.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're driving a vehicle that is that heavy, you should not be riding alongside or driving alongside a group of riders, because anybody can have a problem at any moment. They could pull off to the side, and regardless of how well you're paying attention, if your follow distance isn't great, you will not be able to stop that vehicle. And so, rider error might have been factored in a little bit, but at the same time, a commercial driver with a dump truck needs to take better care of it.
We got a bot. We got a bot in the chat.
That's when we know we've made it big. We have a bot.
Dude, we freaking made it.
We got a sex worker and a bot.
Hold on, guys. Hold up. Free girls in your city?
Dude, give me them. I want them for free.
Yeah, apparently we're gonna need a mod that's not actively engaged in conversation.
You can't put that on the dump truck. I mean, you got to realize this is the biggest problem I see with motorcycles in general. Is once you get it's almost like a pack of dogs. You get them together, and all of a sudden they think they have rights that they don't have. And every ride we've been on, the Marchburg ride was the same thing. You get people in there, and they're like, people should watch out for me. And I think that is the worst thing that can happen to motorcycling is all of a sudden people get headstrong and start thinking, people need to watch out for me because I'm on a motorcycle. If you've ever been to any of the motorcycle training, the first thing they teach you is treat every driver like they're trying to kill you, because they might be.
Yeah.
But you can't fault that dump truck driver because, it was a 3-lane road. He had to be driving too. He can't just stay away from everything because then he wouldn't be able to do his job.
Yep.
There, Tony is now a moderator. That way, if they come back,
You can make Aaron a mod. I'm sure he'd help out.
Oh yeah.
We got to get Aaron on here.
Yeah, I was expecting him to be on here tonight. I was expecting a couple of people to be on here tonight.
There. And because
Eddie
I love
says he
him,
charges. He's not free. Quality
How
costs
much?
money.
How much?
A pork roll?
A pork
all
roll?
right, there. Trucker Paul, Aaron are both mods. You don't have to
Wait.
have a camera. You can be a talking square.
Also, use your phone. You tell me you don't have a camera on your phone? Come on.
He's probably
Yeah,
naked,
get over
sitting in
here.
his living room eating Cheerios.
He's just combing his hair, his long, luscious locks.
Nope, he doesn't comb it. Remember, he does nothing to it.
Oh, that's
it,
right,
it just
that's right.
exists.
If you have to ask, you can't afford. Come on.
Man, come butt.
Well, don't
Kinda
worry.
walked
There
into
are
that.
free girls in your city.
Hey, I live near Memphis. I know there's girls here. None of them are free. I've seen them.
The Nightwalkers.
You're gonna
They
pay.
might not cost you very much, but they ain't free.
So we have this Discord call that we have already has 10 people. So though every week we're going to decide who's actually going to participate in the discussion, and then everybody else will have another group, and then we'll just rotate as people want to join.
That's cool.
We're still figuring out our core group, because eventually I would like to not be the only one hosting this.
Oh no, you started it.
Oh,
You got to continue it. You got to see it
Yeah.
through.
I need to test to figure out how to do it. We'll have to talk, but I wouldn't mind hosting it. But you got to figure out to show me how to get the chat onto YouTube.
Okay.
You need OBS Studio. I actually have that, but I don't have it set up for streaming.
Yeah, all I did was download OBS, connect it to YouTube, and then tell it to capture my second screen, and then I just have YouTube and everything else pulled up over here.
It's free.
I need another
It is
monitor. One
Pretty
second.
well thought out tool, to be honest.
I need
So
a
here-
cool microphone like Sid.
Reminds you of
I used to have-
5 dirty bikers.
Are you
I'm kinda
jealous of
feeling
my mic?
inadequate.
I
I
am.
am.
I am.
That's
I
because
mean,
it's
there
so
was
very
9 of us
inadequate.
earlier.
Yeah, I know. My mic's pretty big.
You're giving me anxiety issues. So here's the big question, Sydney.
Go ahead.
When are you getting a sticker?
Yeah.
I gotta
when are you
figure.
getting a logo?
I gotta figure out a design. Honestly, I was looking at Philzilla's, and I'm thinking about going with the dude who designed his. But
Yeah,
I
his
need an
turned out
idea.
really-
Did you
Yeah, his
see?
is so cool.
Did you see what
If you-
Phil put in chat in this Discord group specifically?
The actual link to the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was looking at him. I have it saved on Google Chrome.
If you go into Fiverr and go into sticker creation, you put a few words in there to describe what you want on your sticker. It will pop up with logos for you to pick from.
Ooh.
No
And if you find one that's close to what you want, you can talk to that creator, and they'll change it for you. Put whatever wording you want into it. They'll change the picture. You can change the color, the pictures and stuff, kind of by yourself through a pick list.
I want
Then
one
you
when
get
you
with
get
the
it, Paul.
creator.
Sorry.
That sounds like the website I use, but for legal reasons, I can't actually discuss it.
I can discuss it. I'm not actually involved with them, but yeah. So for Fiverr, just put what you want into it, and they give you literally. I had probably 100 logos to pick from. Picked the one I wanted and told them what I wanted changed on it, what I needed, and $60. He gave me 4 different types of pictures and 4 different kinds of transparencies and shoot throughs and color schemes, and that's the new sticker. Speaking of which, I was only going to use that as a temporary sticker for the camp out, and it seems like through
that's
the
your new
poll.
one.
Yeah, through the poll,
Yep.
80. I think I'm at 87% last time I looked. I was going to close it out tonight, but last time I looked, it was 87% want that sticker to be the new logo, and that's going to be hard. Getting away from the BMW theme is going to be a little weird.
It's still blue and white though. It's
Yeah,
still
so-
in there.
I'm probably going to keep that as my main icons for Facebook and YouTube and stuff. Then just use that new one as my sticker and my background and my logos in other places.
Yeah.
I like the Franz Pop inspiration you got going on behind the BMW logo. That's cool. It says you're going places. Sentinel, if you're looking for like a DIY tape and baling wire solution, there's an organization, I think it's called Vecteezy, and they're $14 a month. but they have a ton of vector graphics that you can go through and just kind of pick and pluck what you want. And then you can pull it into something like Inkscape, which is free. And you can tinker with the drawing itself and kind of.
That sounds like what I did.
What you want. Yep.
For legal reasons, this is hypothetical. You could go to Brand Crowd, type in whatever you want, text words, and it'll generate a logo, and then you just hypothetically you could take out their watermark. Hypothetically.
A lot of times though, a lot of groups will offer free downloads if you provide attribution, and then you can go through and you can like read their license agreements, and they'll be like, all right, if you want to include this in a video, you can just add us to the end credits. If you want to slap a sticker on your bike, just slap another one of our stickers on there. So you can work around it in a way that your legal team will agree with.
I don't mind paying. These guys are doing these guys are doing good work. That's how they make their living. I don't mind paying them. It's $60 that to me it's $60, but to them that's their living. So
yeah,
I don't want to shortchange a guy.
Right, and that's why
I don't have plans on changing mine anytime soon. I'm perfectly happy with the new logo.
It's catchy. Of course, I love anything green, so.
Well,
Yeah,
the neon green has like been a thing from the inception of the channel, so I just kept rolling with it.
Yeah, I rock the yellow everywhere because the Hope for Pits logo is yellow. Then my bike is yellow, which was just Kismet. And so now I'm just fiddling with it and kind of expanding on it.
Yeah, but if I ever do start coming up with shirt designs, I'm going to get a hold of the guy that Phil uses. But I don't think I'll ever get that big, so yeah.
I like what Josh does with tattoo artists. There's a local tattoo artist that did a tattoo for Emily, and he knocked it out of the park. Like he only charged her $200. It was 2 hours worth of work. It's a good sized phoenix on her shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she picked it up like it was nothing. So
I like my phoenix.
You can find. Yeah, hell yeah, man.
Like, get that closer to the camera. Come on.
You looked at this at the camp out.
Yeah, I want to look at it again. I was drunk.
Meet
You were
everybody.
drunk? What?
That was only 4 hours.
Yeah, drunk at the camp out?
Wow. I don't know what I had, but there was this one drink that I had that my whole face just got so puffy afterwards, and I still can't figure it out what I drank.
Oh, the Jim Beam
moonshine.
Was it the Jim Beam? Probably the
Jim
Red
Beam. Jim Beam has a few toxins in it, so if you're allergic to certain things, that's what I like about Jack Daniels. Once they charcoal mellow it takes a lot of those extra toxins out and the extra alcohols that don't belong in your body. Jim Beam being a cheaper whiskey, they leave a lot of that stuff in. So if I drink Jim Beam, my throat swells up, my face gets red like somebody just beat the crap out of me. It's funny how you learn these things.
Johnny Black. I respect the motherfucker that brings Johnny Black. That was awesome.
Actually, I should have just listened to you, Rainey, and not drank that. The Red Stag.
The Red Stag is it's a little sweet, but they put so is anyone here ever had an old fashioned?
Yeah.
So the reason they put sugar and flavorings in old fashions is because it was made originally with bad whiskey. So they would put sugar in it and put citruses in it to kind of cut the flavor down, to cut the byproduct taste down. So anytime I taste a sweet whiskey that I don't think should be sweet, I immediately think there's something wrong with it, and they're just trying to cover a flavor up.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Strawberry Hill or Mad Dog.
Oh yeah. Although
If
I will
a
drink Mad
sailor
Dog.
Tells you not to
I'll drink the shit
something,
out of some Mad Dog. You mean Mogan David?
If a sailor tells you not to drink something, don't drink it.
No,
I've had some nasty stuff. Yeah. Everybody needs that moment of I need to know for myself.
That's that sister service rivalry. All right,
Yeah,
the
but I
sailor
keep
said not
making
to. I'm going to just because.
Oh,
Yeah, but-
Trucker Paul says George Dickel. Oof.
Oh.
That stuff is rough.
What's your
The
favorite whiskey?
roughest.
I don't have one yet. Still figuring it out.
Also
Well,
between Old Crow and Bushmills.
I am not a fan of this coffee milk stout.
I should
Not
leave
for
room
everybody.
in my saddlebag and just bring out some of the drinks that they make. Well, every month or so, I ride or drive up to Massachusetts and New Hampshire, and
Well,
I'll pick up.
Massachusetts isn't real, so no, you don't.
No, what was
It is. I lost my finger there.
Finland isn't real. Is that the one?
Finland? You mean Switzerland?
No, one of them's not. I forget.
Which one?
You're thinking of Denmark.
Okay.
See, I will raise your Johnny Black, Mike. The
Double
Johnny
black. Yeah, that's about
Okay,
$50 more a
actually.
bottle. I keep saying for my birthday I'll eventually get a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue.
Oh, it's pretty good.
And that's a lie because I can get 4 bottles of black for what I pay for a bottle of blue.
New
Yeah.
Jersey.
I'd rather get
New
a
Jersey's
Macallan.
just New York light. The entire state should just be wrapped into New York City.
Oh no, New Jersey is New York dark.
New York dark.
Yeah.
No, that's the
Oh,
darker
I would love to
version
have a good eggnog right now, Paul.
with an extra shot.
Oh god. No, New York City's just a giant cancerous blob that's attached to New York.
True story.
I opened it. I'm gonna drink it, but ugh.
Do it, drink it.
It's just not.
Is
good.
it that bad? Have you
It's-
tried pouring it out and aerating it?
It's beer with a little bit of coffee in it.
It sounds like a porter, but like not in a good way.
If you want beer with coffee in it, get the PBR coffee.
It actually is really good.
That
yeah.
actually is. It is really good. Yes, and we made that at the plant that I used to work at. It was actually very good.
Rowdy, what are you drinking?
You know where I live, Paul.
It's LTD, baby.
So, Canadian LTD is kind of a swan dive to the bottom of the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
No, military special
they-
is a swan dive to the bottom of the shelf.
Between this and Ancient Age, which I
Calvert.
think is a
Lord
bourbon.
Calvert. I was
Lord
drinking that.
Calvert is definitely a great one to dive down to.
Well, if you want a bottom shelf special, Gilby's anything that comes in a half-gallon jug or a gallon jug, that's your cheap shit. A Red Diamond.
You guys like root beer?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
There's the bomb.
I like it. Not your
Alright.
father's root beer too.
Okay, you want something better than not your father's root beer?
I mean, I'm always looking for new, better things.
All right, so there's this root beer whiskey called Root Out, and it is the most dangerous whiskey I've ever had.
I think I've had root beer whiskey, and I remember it being very strange. Very
You know?
strange indeed.
This one
Still
does it
sounds
right.
better than the
Typically,
peanut butter whiskey.
yeah. Well, no.
Same
so
thing with peanut butter whiskey, yeah.
whiskey. That's
I
dangerous.
don't like
Screwball.
it. I personally don't like Screwball. I know.
I've
I'm
never
sorry.
had that.
He just left. He's like, "Fuck you."
Who the fuck
I think he fell asleep.
No.
Rowdy? He's gone.
Rowdy hops in and out. He might have fallen asleep in the 30 seconds that we were talking.
So the most dangerous whiskey I've ever drank is Rebel Stoke. It's a pecan whiskey,
Oh wow.
and it tastes like pecan pie.
Oh wow.
And this goes against my own preaching, but it's a sweet whiskey that I actually like. And you go to do a shot, and the next thing you're doing a 3 or 4 fingers worth, and then you can't find your legs. Now, the most dangerous drink I've ever had was in Chile, and it was this stuff called chicha. It was Applejack. Basically, it was bilge wine, is what it was. And they'll take apple juice and yeast and raisins, and they'll just put it in this giant 50-gallon cask and leave it until it's ready. And then
Isn't there
they'll
like
pour
an
it into
arsenic-
smaller bottles.
Arsenic risk there?
Do what?
With apple juice, like usually isn't there like arsenic? I can't say that fucking word right now.
There's
Arsenic.
arsonists.
Yeah, they're
There's
arsonists.
arsonists.
No,
Yeah,
like
burning the
there's
fucking
reason
house
you're not
down,
supposed to
yeah.
do that much apple juice liquor, I think.
No, this stuff it really does taste like. Does anybody, you young guys might not be old enough to realize this. Back in the day, at the cafeteria, they had apple juice, and you'd get old apple juice, and it tasted kind of tangy. And there were many times in first and second grade that I'd go down, and people wouldn't want their apple juice, and I would drink 3 or 4 of these apple juices, and then go to class drunk as a first grader because this shit was fermented, and it was kind of funny. Because a lot of people actually did it, and they would think it was so funny. Oh, you got the bad apple juice again. That's funny. Here, just go sit down. You're fine. Try not to pee on yourself. Good time. Yeah, that Applejack will sneak up on you too, and it's another one that all of a sudden you can't see or you can't stand up. It tastes like tangy apple juice. And the house is quiet. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was
Putting
looking
vodka in apple juice is probably the worst thing you can do to yourself because you can't taste the whiskey. You cannot taste the alcohol in it.
Yeah. Well, my aunt used to buy this orange cream, and you're supposed to freeze it, but it tastes like creamsicle.
Yeah.
But she would take more creamsicles and blend them up, and then she would put it in, and that's just dangerous.
We all know the one.
Dreamsicle, I think it was called.
Dream.
The TGI Fridays Dreamsicle?
Yeah.
And you're supposed to put it on ice, and we didn't. You're supposed to grind it up with ice, and we just put it on ice and drink it straight.
Yep.
Do that with mudslides, too.
So like the TGIF brand of whatever dreamsicle mudslides. I don't know.
Aaron's like, I'm learning so much.
No, but I think I don't know if it was whiskey or what it was. When I was over I took a little trip to Europe when I graduated college, and they showed me what they called the spicy shot. And I'm going to butcher the name, but it's called like Stopaknaba. And it is straight. Yeah, and it's straight just, there's liquor in it, but it just, like, you're just drinking lava. And that's how it's like just spiciness, and you're like coughing. It's almost like I've like experienced OC sprayed a little bit. Like it's like you just get that like experience like, why the fuck did I do this? But it's you got to show off to your friends, and you take a shot of Stolpaknaba and whatever. Now you're cool.
It's like getting bad moonshine, but trying not to cough as you feel your insides melting.
Yeah, like you're like dying. Well, but like with this, it's like it's super spicy though too. I mean, moonshine, like, that's a whole other... That gives me, like, horseradish kind of vibe where, like, it goes straight through your, like, sinuses a little bit. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. If you get good moonshine, it gives you the same effect as if you just drank a big mouthful of vinegar.
Yeah, exactly.
Your whole mouth dries up, your whole face draws up, and then you can't see. You can literally drink yourself blind with moonshine if it's not processed right.
Yeah, it's a methyl alcohol at the beginning of the batch.
The first thing it'll do is kill your brain. Turn your brain off. Not kill it quite, but it'll turn your brain off. And the first part it turns off is the part that sees.
But that's the good shit.
No, that's like hand sanitizer. You put it, maybe you clean counters with it.
Oh my god. I just had to write another policy on how we have to store hand sanitizer now. We caught 3 people chugging hand sanitizer.
Oh my god.
Well, funny story, during COVID, we actually were putting out 50% alcohol as hand sanitizer. We were selling it by the gallon jug. Because at first we thought, well, COVID's here, people are going to be locked up at home, we're not going to sell a lot of product, let's start pushing this alcohol out the door. So we made that for about a month, and then we realized that we couldn't keep enough beer and White Claw in the warehouse because we were selling everything, so we stopped making hand sanitizer. It was our go-to just where we could keep making something and make money, but we didn't need to.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically this vodka base that we were making was, we were selling it as hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Now,
And you can drink it, and it's just like drinking vodka.
I will be taking a trip home either for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and my friend has already been working up quite a few flavors. So if you want one, hit me up in our Discord, and I will see if I can get it.
Yeah.
Because when I was in Afghanistan, he would send us. He would open up the bottles of Listerine, and then dump them out and like fill them up with whatever flavor we wanted, and just put the food coloring in to make it look like Listerine. Seal it back up and send it to Afghanistan. It was
That's some real shit.
fun trip.
Motor Pool didn't even do that. They would get their toolboxes and fill them full of Jack Daniels and then put the packing seals on them. It was very common to go to the motor pool to do inspections and to open a toolbox that had just arrived from the States. It was supposed to be full of parts, and it was full of Jack Daniels.
See, we would get tough boxes, and we would put the bands on it, like the safety bands.
Mm-hmm.
We'd put an item sheet on what it was and stick it to the top. It's like, all right, it's been banded, it's already been inspected. It can't be anything else, and we're not allowed to break the seals.
So we could break the seals. As long as we put another seal on it and serialized them and did the chain of continuity, we could break the seals. And we got that a lot. Oh, you can't break that. It's got a seal on it. I'll hold up a handful of seals and go, that's cool. We can replace them. And then they're like, anything you want to put through amnesty? And they're like, can I talk to you over there? Yeah, come on. We're going to walk out for 5 minutes. We're going to walk back in. Then we can resume this inspection. And you go to a toolbox or open up a gorilla box, and there's nothing in it.
Speaking of sketchy shit, yeah, my grandparents, for whatever godforsaken reason, back in like early 2000s, decided they wanted to work in Saudi Arabia. This was like just before 9/11, actually. And they had to they were working in a hospital because they were in the healthcare industry, and the rules there, as you know, are quite strict about anything to do with American culture, liquor included. So my grandpa is definitely a drinker. He was a big beer guy. He still is, or he tries to be. He's got dementia now, actually, sidebar. But he had to find somebody that was like underground brewing beer and liquors and stuff like that in Saudi Arabia, because even back then it was like the punishment for the crime was serious, but you got to get your drink on in Saudi Arabia. And I think they were in Riyadh for like 5 years, and then eventually my family back in the day, I was a little kid at this point, but they're like, you need to come home. There's gonna be a fucking war there. Like, we just had 9/11. Get your ass back home and stop dealing with this bullshit. That was my little blurb.
Oh, you're good.
You'd be surprised how many oases they have in Kuwait and Iraq where you could go and have liquor. They'd have restaurants.
Yeah.
You look at places like the little Americas over there, like Qatar. You're in the middle of a Muslim-controlled country, and they'll build a little city that anything goes. So in Kuwait Airport was the same way. You'd see these women show up to the airport, go in, and they're in full hijabs and burqas. They'll get inside, change in the bathrooms, come out in blue jeans and high heels.
No kidding. Wow.
Because inside the airport, it's a what do they call it? Duty-free area, a customs controlled area.
Yeah.
So it's a lot different, but yeah, Qatar. You ever get to go to Qatar, Goon?
Yeah. Kuwait.
It's literally you might as well be stepping off into a major city in America somewhere, because there's a TGI Fridays, there's steakhouse restaurants, there's bars, swimming pools, girls in bikinis.
Yep.
And you go literally a half mile in the other direction on the other side of the gates, and that shit, there's no way you could do it.
Yeah, they're lopping off hands for stealing bread.
They're stoning you for not covering your hair.
In Kuwait, the Kuwait City Jail had 10 cells, and that jail was for the entire country. Because anything worth arresting you for, they would literally ignore everything except for things that they would either immediately punish you for or execute you for. And even in the jail, we had a guy from a shipping company who was not a U.S. contractor. He actually worked for DHL. And he was shipping drugs in and out of the country. shipping him. He was the signer for DHL. He'd bring stuff into the country. Was supposed to be investigating it or inspecting it. When it came in, he'd put his own seal on it and then have it shipped to his address or his girlfriend's address. And when they caught him, they wanted him executed immediately. Well, state stepped in, had him shipped to the base, and they put him in our facility. Long story short, they wouldn't touch him in our facility, but they wanted him back. So state made a deal that they wouldn't execute him, but they would give him a sentence. So he got a 6-month sentence instead of being executed. Twist of that is when you're in the jail, they may not feed you, they may not give you water. It's up to Allah to decide whether they remember to give you anything at all. So he still only lasted 4 weeks, and he probably would have been better off just being executed.
Wow.
Starvation is a very slow, uncomfortable death.
Yeah, it sucks. What's the longest you've ever gone without eating?
Me?
Yeah.
Longest I ever gone without eating was probably 2 days.
Yeah.
If you can make it past 2 days, your body will kind of, the pains will let off. But even after like 16 hours, if you've ever been really hungry and all of a sudden your stomach feels like it's turning inside out, everything cramps. So the bad part about that is after 2 days, when you try to eat, anything you eat is horrifically uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Especially if you're also not drinking anything.
Yeah. Well, the key though is like drinking enough water. I thought that warm water helped a lot. I think the longest I've ever gone without
Cold water is warm water.
longest I've ever had to go without eating was like 6 days. 5 going on 6.
How?
Stupidity.
Was it a young girl thing because you wanted a young svelte figure?
No. I was traveling and working so much, and I literally forgot to eat for a while because I was just, in that mindset of I got to get shit done. I got to do stuff. I got to move to the next thing. Let's go. And I ended up not eating for 6 days. And then I didn't realize that until I looked at one of my friends actually mentioned, hey, we didn't see you at dinner last night. Where the hell were you? We were going to meet up at a restaurant. And I was like, fuck. I didn't eat.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at you. I just saw Trucker Paul's comment.
Yeah, Trucker Paul.
No, man,
yeah.
And then I didn't.
I would never forget to eat. I've got a day without eating sometimes, and because it's one of the things, especially when I was in school, I'm like, 30 more minutes. Well, 30 more minutes. Well, an hour. Well, it's almost 2:00. I'll just wait till 4 to eat, and then you don't. And by the end of the day, it's like, holy shit, how did I do this? How stupid can I be? So yeah, never on purpose.
Yeah, mine was more when I was deployed. It was like, all right, we're gonna go on patrol. We'll come back. We'll get you. All right, cool. All right, hey man, sorry, you gotta go back out. Something else is going on. All right, cool. Hey, let's go to the gym. Okay, fucking. And then, all right, bedtime. I'm tired. And then 3/4 of the way through day 2, I'm like,
Yeah.
when the fuck did I?
No, it's easy.
Yeah. I always get granola bars and oatmeal packets. The good thing about the DFACs on the LSAs were they always had extra food. So you're walking out of DFAC after you eat, you grab 2 handfuls of oatmeal packs, you grab 2 handfuls of granola bars, and fill all your pockets because you never know where you're going to be. First convoy we went on that was supposed to have started in Earring. We were supposed to go into Navistar and then go up into the green zone, and we didn't stop for 2 days. We only had brought enough MREs for 1 day. So, what's Paul saying?
It's not Paul.
Rowdy.
Rowdy.
You just gotta tap out, bro. Just go to bed, man. It's fine.
You're done, man. We'll see you later, brother.
Yeah, we should probably all call it because we don't want to start running this too late. We want to save material for next time.
All right.
Yep, absolutely.
So
It's been a pleasure.
I love
all right,
this.
everybody. We appreciate you hanging out. We will see you next week at 8:00 Central. Have a good night, y'all.
Later.
Hey, everybody.
Later.